Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Two things will always ring true and unite NASCAR fans worldwide. That NASCAR is a family, and that throwbacks are pretty darn cool. This evening, we at least get to bring one of those elements to PitStop TV as the Bluegrass iRacing series rolls into none other than Darlington Raceway for their throwback event. Built in 1949 for the 1950 racing season, Darlington Raceway is NASCAR's first super speedway, featuring an egg shape thanks to the famous minnow pond outside of modern turns 3 and 4, and steep banking that broke the mold at the halfway point of the century. Darlington has always been one of oval racing's more unique and therefore special dates on the calendar. Now, the 1.366-mile stretch of asphalt dubbed the Lady in Black and Too Tough to Tame lies before us, waiting to test the best of the Bluegrass iRacing series. Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter tonight. Noah Carmichael with me in the booth. Trey Shuttlesworth, I'm sorry, buddy, with social media coverage. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series. We join you tonight from the virtual Darlington, South Carolina for round 7 of 12 on the season. And man, there's no other way to do a throwback race, I think, than to take it to Darlington Raceway at this point. It's just the throwback central, I suppose, of oval racing at this point. It's just where you go, and it's so synonymous with throwback racing. I mean, obviously NASCAR came back at Darlington, had the non-throwback races back in May, but that's just because of COVID-19 this year changing everything up. But it just seems like Darlington and throwbacks go well together. This place is so old. It is one of, if not the oldest date on the NASCAR schedule. I'd have to check years. I believe it's the oldest. Just Darlington. It is where you do throwbacks, Noah.
Like you said, it's one of the oldest tracks among the ranks of tracks like Daytona and even Martinsville. I believe Martinsville actually is the oldest track on the schedule, but this track, for some reason, just resonates with fans as the throwback place. It's just an amazing racetrack from a fan's perspective. From a driver's perspective, while it's amazing to bring these paint schemes, it's your worst nightmare to come here because this track drains you. You use every bit of energy just to do a lap around here, and these guys have to do 184 of that. So it's going to be a very, very long and grueling race for these guys. It's going to be very interesting to see what they can do to try and tackle this track. As you said, is even painted on the press box is too tough to tame. So it's going to be a very entertaining night of throwback, and also just painting the walls black around this racetrack and seeing how far we could take it with it.
Yeah, I mean, Darlington it is the place, and it always feels special coming to Darlington, whether it's a throwback race or not. Darlington just has this aura about it, and I'm so glad that we get to see some throwback paints out in the field this evening as well. Let's just go through some of them that are on the racetrack right now. There aren't too many guys left on the track. Well, actually, that's not a throwback at all. That's a Rims 1, number 21 for John Kinder. But let's look at Joshua Abbey's number 05, a throwback, of course, to Jimmy Johnson, if you can see it right there. It reminds me, of course, of the number 88 that Alex Bowman ran this year in the NASCAR Cup Series, but it's a well-done throwback, that's for sure. I love the aardvark font for the number. We also have Jack Bowery out here in the throwback that Jimmy Johnson ran, actually, so that's a pretty cool nod to all NASCAR's 7-time champions, Jimmy Johnson included, there with Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. David Brackett, let's see what he's got. Well, actually, he's still in his Youngling Chevrolet. I know Daniel Worthington and company, they've all got some pretty cool team throwbacks, and then, of course, we go right into qualifying. But Noah, before we do get into qualifying, we should definitely check out our point standings coming into this evening because things have shaken up, and I know you guys had a great one on hand at Indianapolis last weekend. It was really, I think, ripple effect to Pocono because Travis Miller vaulted himself well ahead of Justin Winters, but then that gap narrowed a little bit, and we continued to see John Kinder really move himself up to the forefront of the conversation for a spoiler for this championship now, because since Daytona, it's been Travis Miller and Justin Winters, but John Kinder suddenly might be the next best option.
Absolutely. John Kinder has been on rails the past 2 weeks. He's really figured out this long run strategy, and it's something that he prides himself on, kind of, I would assume, is that he's been able to start up front and stay up front. He's one of the best contenders in the series to not have a win. And you talk about Justin Winters 2 weeks in a row where he comes so close to having a great finish and then ends up having it ripped away from him just because of a fuel mileage race. And he's another one of those guys who has the ability to make the long run strategy work, but he just can't finish it off because he's trying to outrun. Last week it was Brandon Robertson, and it came so close, about 500 feet short. If he had about a tenth of a gallon left of gas, he could have coasted across the line. But sadly, he wasn't able to do it, and it ended up going to Brandon Robertson, who is now a 2-time winner in the series. I believe, yes, he is here, so he's going to try and keep that going. Something we also didn't realize that also makes this championship even better is I wasn't aware there's drop weeks. You have 2 weeks you can drop, and Brandon used both of them, and Justin Winters has also said he plans on using both of them. So this points gap, even though what it says is live, it's not over yet. It's still as tight as it can be, just depending on what these drop weeks do at the end of the season.
Yeah, we don't have the point standings with the drop weeks figured in. We go off of what Bluegrass has, and currently they are still counting these points without drop weeks. But yes, those 2 drop weeks will bring the number two of Brandon Robertson right back into the conversation with his couple of wins. He's currently 12th without drop weeks, so he's still doing pretty darn good for himself. But I think it's around 100 points or so back of Travis Miller and Justin Winters. He is, again, in 12th spot, just a little ways back at Nicholas Noggle there in 10th. So actually, I wouldn't be surprised if after this week, maybe even next at Bristol, he vaults himself into the top 10 even without the drop week. And of course, we will get those corrected points to you once we get them. It's also actually worth talking about the rest of the schedule because these are going to be some interesting tracks the back half of the season. You see, we've gone through Daytona, Atlanta, Richmond, Charlotte, Pocono, and now Indianapolis. Darlington this evening for race 7, and then we really have an interesting tour from here on out. Bristol Motor Speedway, Talladega Superspeedway, the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, Martinsville Speedway, and the full-length race, the 400-miler at Kentucky.
Yeah, they really chose a schedule that is both grueling and challenging. The first few tracks we saw, like Daytona, Atlanta, and Richmond, those are all very hard tracks to do and do well at. And then there's tracks like Pocono, Indianapolis that are challenging their own rights, and it just gets so much harder now as we're at Darlington, a track that is known for being difficult. Then you go to Talladega, which is known for its chaos. The Roval, which is still kind of an unknown. They've gone there for about 4 years, but there's still a lot left on the table for what you can do. And then just Martinsville, you can't really describe just how difficult that track is. So truly, whoever wins this champion is going to be the best driver out there, because you need to be the best in order to tackle tracks like these for upwards of 250 laps.
And 267 when we go to Kentucky. Tonight is also one of the longer ones, of course, the Southern 500, now the Cookout Southern 500, known for being long. At 267 laps in the NASCAR Cup Series, we have half that, but that's still going to be quite the lengthy race at 184 laps around this 1.366 mile super speedway, as it was once known. Now it's really just an intermediate track here for NASCAR racing. We do have some cars already qualified. Travis Miller currently on pole right now in that number 22. We're used to seeing not necessarily the Bobby Allison throwback, but we're used to seeing the number 22 up front at this point. Wyatt Brackett, rather surprising right now, in second place. And actually, he's had some great qualifying runs this season, so I shouldn't be surprised, but still a great qualifying effort from him. Justin Winters currently sits in third. Jack Bauer, how about this guy? Along with Ed Osborne, they have cracked into the top 6 each. There's Ed Osborne's Davey Allison throwback that he's run a couple times so far this season, and Jack Bauer rolling back into the pit lane after qualifying 5th. Joshua Abbey now hits the asphalt here at the Lady in Black, and we'll see how that number 05 does.
John Kender, I just saw his lap. I believe his first lap was invalidated maybe because of wall contact, but that second lap, he was on rails, and he jumps himself up to second on the grid. So that's where he's going to fall in line right now. Just, again, really doing well with this qualifying, just being able to get up there and stay up there, and hopefully he can keep that momentum going, because I believe this is the 3rd week in a row he's been on the front row. So it's just incredible to see the qualifying that he's been able to pull out. As you see the rest of the drivers still needing to make a run. Drivers like Nathan Maurer, who I believe might have ruined the scene for Adam Lancaster, Scott Fritz, Adam Broyles, and Brian Terry, so the driver that we're also waiting for. But man, this qualifying it was quite something, because Jack Bauer, who you usually see running around the mid-pack, is now showing his true muscles at the Lady in Black and is starting to become a front runner, or one of the drivers that we can talk about being a front runner, just to see how he does at the start of the race.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you see a bit of fuzziness on your screen this evening, do not panic. Since it's a throwback, we're throwing it back to when VHS tapes were a thing, Noah, and we are utilizing the iRacing VHS filter this evening. I think it really adds a nice dynamic to the iRacing sim and makes things look pretty darn cool. Justin Winters has actually re-entered the speedway, and he's turning another lap. I'm not really sure if this is his second lap or what he's doing exactly, but Justin Winters back on the racetrack. He currently sits 4th. I don't know that he's going to be able to go faster, of course, but he does get back on the racetrack. Regardless, Scott Fritz now on the racetrack as well. He's qualifying in his Kenny Wallace throwback, and he pops the fence. The Square D Chevrolet Camaro not looking too great out of turn number 4, but he's going to see what he could do regardless.
Yeah, Justin Winters is something that we've seen people like Jack Bauer even do last week. When qualifying's over, what they'll do is they'll just keep turning laps, because they'll use whatever time they can to try and learn this track more and more and more to try and get ahead. So that's basically what I believe he's doing, because he's still turning laps. It's not counting them, obviously, because his 2 laps are over with. But he's utilizing all the time he can to try and learn more and more about this track as the qualifying goes on, just so that way he can get those last minute adjustments that he wants to know. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do. Because I looked at
and what I just saw him do, I'm going to interrupt you totally. What I just saw him do, which is really smart, he just practiced a green flag pit stop entry. That's something that very few people are ready for here at Darlington, and he just practiced one, and it was pretty darn good.
And that's something that we're just used to seeing out of Winters. He's one of the best drivers in the league, and that the point standings just show it. As it shows coming in second, he's one of the guys that was at the top of the standings up until Pocono, and is now trying to rebound, and a win at Darlington could obviously do that. So he's coming in here and not playing any games. One of the things I was talking about, though, is speaking of pit stops, is we talk about it week after week, the 60% fuel capacity that these drivers run. That's tough on its own just because of the tires, but now the fuel is going to be about the same. Because usually you don't think about the fuel runs, you're worried about your tires, and that's going to be something even better. I'm seeing more drivers who try to do these long runs are doing about 20 to 30 laps of stints. That's something I'm going to expect to see, is about 20 to 30 lap runs from each driver, depending how far they want to take it and how far they're willing to make those tires go. So it's just watch out for that, because it's going to be about quite a few pit stops here at the Lady in Black. So practicing your pit stops and qualifying is obviously something really smart to do, and props to winners on that one.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of who does that in the McConey Setup Shop Fall Brawl. Regardless, I can't think of his name right now, but there's another driver that just keeps turning laps just to get practice down, and why not? You have that extra time, go out and run some more laps. Keep getting yourself familiarized with the car, with the track, and I mean, this is closest to what we're going to see in the race now. And you know what? Let's talk about those racing conditions this evening. Air temp right about 70.5 degrees Fahrenheit, only 72 degrees in the track, and very calm winds here in Darlington this evening. It's perfect for some great racing. Of course, Darlington eats up tires, and when it gets hot and slick, it's really tough to drive. But we're starting in the nighttime. These guys practiced throughout the daylight and into the night, and now we are in full darkness here at Darlington, and it's really setting up to be a pretty darn good event.
Yeah, you're talking about starting at the nighttime, and obviously nighttime is the right time. But one of the characteristics that make Darlington so difficult for drivers is going into turns 3 and 4 with the sun beaming in your eyes. If anybody who does iRacing has been doing some of the weekly events that they host, ARCA is currently at Darlington, and the biggest complaint that a lot of drivers have is the sun going into turns 3 and 4, and that has been taken out of factor. So now it's going to be very entertaining to see what these guys do. Obviously, very uncharacteristic weather for summertime in South Carolina compared to the hot and muggy that you're used to seeing. We're going to have cool spring-like temperatures. That's going to make it even better, because the track's going to be more grippy than what we're used to seeing at a track like Darlington.
That it is. And now we're going to roll down the grid real quick. Then we're actually going to lose the graphics for a minute. Those will come right back. Do not be concerned. We have to make one quick switch, but we are going to roll down the starting grid. And starting on pole is Travis Miller in the number 22. John Kinder to his outside in second place in the number 21. Rolling back to row number 2 brings us Wyatt Brackett in that number 33. Justin Winters in the 88 machine. Row number 3. It's Nick Mills in the number 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback, and Jack Bauer in the Jimmy Johnson throwback to both Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. Starting 7th spot is going to be Joshua Abbey in the number 05, throwback to Jimmy Johnson as well, and Ed Osborne in the Davey Allison number 555. Starting off 9th is going to be Matt Grenier in the number 15, and Brandon Robertson to his outside, throwing it back to Ricky Craven to round out the top 10.
Starting back in the 11th position is where you're going to find Tanner Webb, who's throwing it back to Bill Elliott's McDonald's Chevrolet. Beautiful car there. Starting right beside him is a throwback that we saw a couple of weeks ago when they were at Darlington for West Weekend. He's starting it back with the Ross Chastain car. Starting back in the 13th position, I can't exactly see it, but that is Tyler Johnson in the number 6. His paint has not yet loaded in. I believe he's going to be running the Valvoline car as he has been for the past season as he showed up at Charlotte. Starting 14th, we're going to find David Brackett, his usual Yingling Chevrolet. Starting back in the 15th position is going to be Ronnie Shirk Jr. in the number 7. Finish line, we're trying to read that off. Wash Pros LLC, and Nicholas Nagel throwing it back to the Skull Bandit in that Toyota. Throwing back in the 17th position. Hold on. Yes, back in the 17th position. And the number 100, it is the Kenny Wallace, or you can say Bobby Hamilton throwback to the Square D Chevrolet. And then in the 18th position, Adam Lancaster in that Hardee's machine. 19th, throwing it back to the Mountain Dew car, the Darrell Waltrip brand that actually Dale Jr. threw back in 2008. That is Brian Terry. And then rounding out the top 20, starting on the pits, is Daniel Worthington in that Wranglers Chevrolet throwback.
Adam Broyles 22nd, and it looks like that's all we're going to have this evening. 22 cars on tap as they lead you to the green flag. Travis Miller again on pole position this evening. The throwback to Donnie Allison. The Allisons seem to be rather popular in throwbacks lately. Glad to have you with me, Noah Carmichael, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media coverage. Glad to have everybody watching this evening. We are going to take the green flag. We'll take a minute to sort out the graphic situation, but we're going to carry you all the way through. Travis Miller leads us to the green flag, and we're off and away racing at Darlington for 184 laps.
Travis Miller and John Kender with the early jump as Miller gets the run into turn number 1. He's going to shoot out to an early race lead as John Kender falls back to second. Wyatt Brackett and that Bobby Labonte throwback in here, say Battery Chevrolet keeps it in third. Justin Winters holds on to fourth, and then the Dale Jr. throwback and Nick Mills holds on to fifth. As here comes Brackett, maybe trying to make a move on Kender as they start to single file their way out, and they're going to cleanly complete a lap here at the Lady in Black as we're now one lap down, 183 to go as they sail off into turn number 1. As now Miller still starting to grow out that lead in the early goings.
Miller's got a pretty good lead out of turn number 2. On lap number 2, you see them all trying to funnel through that turn 2 exit. It's rather tough to do so. It certainly throws drivers for a loop, but Travis Miller starting to walk away from John Kender in second place. It's the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett in behind him. That's the 88 in fourth, and the 8 of Nick Mills in fifth.
Looking back to the field, back in the 10th position is where you find Brandon Robertson in that tied throwback. He was a winner last week in Indianapolis. He started back in the 10th position. That's where he currently stands as he makes the move on the inside of Ed Osborne. They're going to go side by side into turn number 3. Tanner Webb in the 17 is going to try and follow through to take that over in the 11th position. Webb, who we've seen, he started towards the mid-pack at Indianapolis. So he started on the front row, actually. So he's one of the guys who usually stay running up front, and early on in the race, he is trying to make his way up to the field. Travis Miller, you see, still holding on to the race lead. As you see up ahead, Daniel Worthington, at number 113, who started from pit road. He is now starting to become a lap to traffic. So already 4 laps into the race, sadly because he missed the start, that's going to really affect his race. He's going to pull down to the bottom, hopefully, and let the leaders go by because it's just too early to be holding them up. Hopefully get a lucky dog when a caution comes out. And yep, that's exactly what he's going to do, but it could slide up right in front of John Kender and get out of the way as they still single file.
Everybody getting by the slow car of Worthington. Now the battle is for third place. Brackett holding off the 88 of Winters for now. Here comes Nick Mills. He wants a piece of things, and he wants to get up higher than just 5th spot. And now we have graphics coming on board. You see we had to work on a couple of things, but we're glad that that's going to work out for you. Meanwhile, Wyatt Brackett is still trying to defend that 3rd spot.
Back in the 6th position is where you find Jack Bauer fighting Joshua Abbey. Oh, Bauer slaps the wall out of turn number 2, causing a little bit of chaos on behind as Ed Osborne and Tanner Webb make contact off of turn number 2, trying to avoid that. The 2 Jimmy Johnson cars are fighting for position, and the 48 got a little bit high off of turn number 2, and that's one of the toughest corners on the racetrack, in my opinion, because that turn 2 wall sneaks up on you so fast. You enter that corner, and you're just about flat out through most of the corner, but you want to lift just a little bit to try and pivot the car to arc it off of there, as you see a lot of drivers do, because if you stay up on the high side, that wall will sneak up on you and you will hit that wall pretty hard. Luckily, because of how iRacing knows and how Darlington works, if you hit the wall, it doesn't even give you as a 1x for contact. It just knows how Darlington works. So even if you slap the wall, you're not even going to get a 1x penalty for it. So it's one of the great things with this track that even iRacing can tell that it really is one of the toughest tracks on the circuit, and that hitting it is just part of the game here and earning a Darlington stripe.
Meanwhile, you saw it on your screen, Wyatt Brackett lost 3rd place and 4th place. He's now into 5th as both Winters and Mills got on by. Joshua Abbey would be the next one to take on the Bobby Labonte-inspired number 33 car. Travis Miller continues to lead now into lap number 9 of 184. It looks like both Adam Broyles and Nathan Maurer not going to make the field this evening. Daniel Worthington 1 lap down. Not sure what happened to those 3, or rather those 2 that are not going to make the show this evening. Brian Terry, we're going to go through some of the paint schemes real quick in the early goings. Brian Terry 19th in that throwback that Noah mentioned at the top of the show, back to Darrell Waltrip and Dale Jr. each, and then David Brackett, Scott Fritz. There's a throwback to Kenny Wallace in the number 100. Nicholas Noggle up ahead. Of course, the throwback to Harry Gant. He's already got himself a Darlington stripe on the right side of his car.
One of my favorite cars in the field right now is Matt Grenier. I honestly love it because it's the Terry Labonte throwback, the Cornflakes car. Even though I wasn't really around to see that car because I was born in 1999, that is just such a beautiful paint scheme. Not only that, it's a throwback to his Iron Man paint scheme from North Wilkesboro. So it's kind of like shedding the skin a little bit for his 600 straight stars. He still tries to find a way around Joshua Abbey in that 05 machine, throwing it back to 2008 Jimmy Johnson. You see the onboard there, that Kellogg's Cornflake Chevrolet. Down the back Sherwood now. Actually, I think this is something different on the McInerney. We usually see him driving a snap-on Mustang, so he is really getting into the spirit of Throwback Week and deciding to ditch the Ford and going to go with the bow tie to go full Terry Labonte. So give him a lot of props on that one, as he's really getting the character, as he is still trying to find his way around that 05 car as we now complete lap number 12.
And they both slap the fence in center of the corner and have dinged up the right sides of their racing machines, but they still battle for about 6th spot on the racetrack. Wyatt Brackett still up ahead in the number 33, but it looks like he's starting to gain back on Nick Mills just a little bit, so this could be a battle in the waiting. Again, Nick Mills running that throwback to Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course. He's got a beer sponsor on there as well, so it's rather fitting. It's not Budweiser, but it still works. John Kinder, though, has reeled in our race leader, Travis Miller, and a battle for the lead on the way.
Yes, exactly. That's what I talked about in the pre-race. He's one of the hottest contenders in the series that have yet to get a win. He is so hungry to get one of them. He is so good on the long-run strategy, and it's something that he's going to play out. Expect him to be one of the drivers who pits later than everybody else. The only person that comes even close to touching the kind of ways that he can stretch out a fuel run is that guy in 3rd place, Justin Winters, who started back and forth. He has fought his way up to 3rd, and he is reeling in the person he's fighting for the championship with. So again, what we're used to seeing these two title contenders, the big two you could say, are fighting again as winners, not even having to fight him that much. Oh, but he's going to slap the wall out of turn number 3, call that a little bit of wall riding. That's going to allow Miller to get the run, but not enough to make a pass, as now move that 88 Chevrolet up into 2nd place, as John Kender now is going to set his sights to sail away from the 2 championship leaders.
That's something you have to be careful about. You can't lean on that wall too much. You're going to have some problems over the course of the evening. Meanwhile, Wyatt Brackett has taken 4th spot back from Nick Mills, and Nick Mills in a big slide. You see a big gaggle back behind, and Ed Osborne hard in the outside wall. He continues on. Matt Grenier got on by Brandon Robertson. That was for 6th. Tanner Webb moves up into 8th as Robertson fell back to 7th. Let's see, Tyler Johnson. There's been a lot going on here, and everything is mixed up. Tyler Johnson in the DuPont Jeff Gordon throwback, sitting in 9th spot. Joshua Abbey has fallen back to 10th. Jack Bauer in 11th. Adam Lancaster back here in 12th. And Ed Osborne in 13th position. Everything mixing up in the mid-pack.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was surprised about. I don't know what happened to Joshua Abbey. He has fallen from about the 5th or 6th position all the way behind a lot of these mid-pack runners. So now he's starting to fall off. Something's obviously happened, which might have been the cause of why you saw that gaggle of cars trying to get around him. That also hindered the performance of the 15 car who was trying to get around him. It's now Brandon Robertson in that side throwback, moving it on the inside, and is going to sail away from him, as now the 15 is going to have to look behind him, and not too far behind is Tanner Webb, who we've seen in the past few weeks since his debut at Pocono is one of the most aggressive drivers on the schedule. About the 3 drivers that you will watch to see the aggressive moves that they can pull is drivers like Tanner Webb, Jack Bauer, and Adam Lancaster. Those guys are not afraid to stick their nose in there and force their way through. As you see, here he comes again at the number 1, going to try and see if he can make it. Not going to happen. That's going to allow Tanner, the number 6 of Taylor Johnson, to try to make a peek on the outside, but he's going to have a better run off the corner, maybe make a move in turn 3.
And Johnson will take it down to the bottom side and look underneath the 17. He doesn't quite take it just yet. Meanwhile, Nick Mills lost another spot, this time to Brandon Robertson, so he's continuing his slide in the wrong direction. Behind him now is Matt Grenier. Up front, things have stayed about the same. John Kinder continues to lead. He's got now a 2.5-second lead almost over Justin Winters. Travis Miller in 3rd, Wyatt Brackett 4th, Brandon Robertson in 5th. But the battle goes up behind. Nick Mills hard on the fence. Everybody slid up that time, and Nick Mills got it the hardest. He's going to lose spots now all the way back here. He's going to lose tons of positions. Into 3, he almost collects Lancaster, sends Osborne up the track as well. That was not a good rejoin.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about Darlington is it doesn't matter how you try to re-enter. When you're on the bottom of the racetrack and you carry that much speed trying to keep your position, shoot straight up to the banking, so it's really hard to rejoin the racetrack. He's lucky he didn't take out Adam Lancaster and the people behind him, but man, he has really fallen off the pace since the start of the race. He started 5th. He's dropped almost over 10 positions back to the 13th spot, and he's really just kind of struggling to hold on to that race car. Up ahead there, you see that 3-car fight that still rages on between Tanner Webb and Matt Grenier. Those two have been side by side for a good bit. And then Tyler Johnson has been right beside him, as here comes the Hendrick throwback. He's going to put up a fight. He's going to clear him off of turn number 2. So that's one of the weird things I saw, is the fact that Tyler Johnson, who we usually always see in that Mark Martin Valvoline throwback, decided to do another throwback to a 2011 car. So he's gone from doing a throwback from the 90s to 2011 to two drivers actually who fought for the championship in the late 90s, of 2 greats even, of Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin. So it's really interesting to see that, as he still tries to work his way to try and get around the number 17 of Tanner Webb.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson, his normal paint has been a throwback, like you said, but he wanted to change things up this week. Throws it back to Jeff Gordon here at Darlington. It looks pretty good as well. Of course, 9/11 was last week, so I think it's rather fitting as well to throw in the Star-Spangled number 6 this evening. Matt Grenier falls back then to 8th place. He's got Jack Bauer all over the back end of him. And we have 4, count them, 4 Hendrick Motorsports throwbacks in a row, or at least we did before Joshua Abbey had his issues. We had Tyler Johnson in the number 6, throwing it back to Jeff Gordon. We had Matt Grenier throwing it back, of course, to Terry Labonte. Jack Bauer throwing it back to a couple of weeks ago with Jimmy Johnson. I don't know why my brain stopped on that one. And then Joshua Abbey throwing it back to Jimmy Johnson from 2008. I guess you could say the 48 car for Jack Bauer, not technically a Hendrick throwback, but it was on a Hendrick car at the very least.
I can also argue that Brandon Robertson's throwback might be to Darrell Waltrip's car from the 80s. We might look at it as a Ricky Craven, but the fact that it has Exxon and Superflow on it makes me think that it might be a Darrell Waltrip throwback, or whoever it was. And that was a Hendrick car, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not too sure about my late 80s history in NASCAR, but I swore the Hendrick Motorsports was the people who first brought in that tie scheme. So we might actually have about 5 Hendrick's throwbacks in this race so far. And right now he is obviously the fastest runner of all of them, who has already moved up to 4th. So 2nd through 4th right now are all people who have won this race. And then John Kender, the odd man now, still looking for win number 1 of the season. He is really sailing away, almost a 5-second gap, depending where he comes across the line. Right now is at 4.1, but he is just sailing away from the leaders, which is incredible to see this late in the run.
I missed a few things up ahead while all that was happening. So Travis Miller has bumped himself back up into 2nd spot. He has gotten by Justin Winters and gapped the 88 by about a second and some change. Brandon Robertson has moved on by Wyatt Brackett as well, up into 4th spot. And the number 2, as you say, it could be a throwback to like Ricky Rudd, Darrell Waltrip, whatever else, but he swears this is a throwback to Ricky Craven, and you know what? I like the Mainer Ricky Craven, so I'm going to go with it as well, and he is gaining on Justin Winters, and this could be a really good battle here shortly.
And how fitting that he's running the Ricky Craven throwback at Darlington.
That's right.
Because of how close, obviously, the famous close finish between him and Kurt Busch. So imagine how fitting it would be is if he gets his 3rd win in a row, because remember, he missed out on the 2 races between Pocono and I believe Charlotte. His last race was Richmond. He showed up in Indianapolis and won that. And imagine if he could go 3 in a row now and starts and wins and do it in a Ricky Craven throwback at the track too tough to tame. And right now he is just manhandling his way around this racetrack. He started 10th, moved all the way to 4th, and he is on the back bumper of that number 88. You know, a lot of redemption trying in the eyes of that 88 car, Justin Winters, who really wants to try and beat him this week after coming so close to winning in Indianapolis, really trying to get a rebound and get the win here at Darlington. Right now, he's really struggling, it seems, here in the later half of this stint, unless he's just trying to save his tires so that way he can pit later than everybody else like we usually see out of him.
So that's the pass for 4th spot, and these guys all just mixing things around. We've had guys move forward, we've had them fall back, and you know what we call that in NASCAR racing? Comers and goers. Something we don't usually see these days. I'm glad we have them this evening, Noah, because it makes things so much better to watch. And for our purpose of being here to call as well. The battle for sixth place rages on. Tanner Webb still defending over Tyler Johnson. Jack Bauer holds steady and has actually gained on these drivers just a bit. He's in 8th spot. Matt Grenier still in 9th, and Ed Osborne hanging on to a top 10 position despite getting the wall pretty hard not so long ago. Wes Wiggin has moved his way up, and they throw back to 1976 Dale Earnhardt. The 188 looking pretty darn good. He's in 12th.
Yeah, I remember first taker on pit road, I believe. That was number 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr. He missed his stall.
And so, Robertson.
Robertson,
he's also
now one of the leaders. And also Travis Miller right ahead of him. So again, that's what I talked about. Between 20 and 30 laps is where you're going to expect to see the pit window open. And that has officially happened. And you see the first takers of leaders as Robertson, who's usually one of the guys who doesn't even wait for it. John Kenner, I'm surprised he's coming in. Winners as well, so they're not even going to try and stretch this out. They're not even going to risk it at a track like this. They're going to pit early, which I believe is going to hands the lead right now over to Jack Bauer. As we got almost the entire front half of the field pitting right now.
Almost everybody's coming in. The few cars staying out. One more lap. Jack Bauer, Ed Osborne, Wes Wiggin, Joshua Abbott, Nick Mills, surprisingly, despite his struggles in the early goings. Brian Terry also still on the racetrack. Nicholas Noggle, it looks like he's finally going to come in and pit. Here comes Jack Bauer. He misses the Konas. He's still going to pit.
That is a very costly mistake. I believe that was the same kind of incident he made at Indianapolis. I believe he missed pit road there as well, or at least one of the tracks. He's running really well, and I believe he might have had a pit incident. But that is such a costly mistake because now he's gonna have to do the drive-through, which is a lot more time-consuming than having to just go do another lap. So that's gonna basically write him off early on in the race unless we get a caution that puts him back in it. Wes Wiggin right now in the 188 machine, he is still your race leader, choosing to stay out there. Nick Mills as well, I believe. Yep. So those are about the 2 people that still have to pit. But they're going to keep going and trying to lodge these laps down, maybe hope for a caution to try and stick a lot of these guys a lap down or so, or just try to stretch this out. But now we're starting to see a lot of the drivers who are going to try and stretch this out and get the long run in there and maybe try and cut a pit stop out that we're used to seeing in the past few weeks here. That would be a very costly mistake if he did. Oh my goodness. Commentator's curse. Commentator's curse. I'm saying it now. You just jinxed him right there. But something I did notice is up here at the front of the field. Brandon Robertson has taken over what will be the lead.
Wiggin around at pit entry.
Man, this is just not going well for him.
Oh, no.
And he's not even going to make the pit road. He's going to have to tow, and that's going to ruin the race for him. But yeah, Brandon Robertson, though, up at the front of the field, he is now taking over what will be the lead about the time when they do pass Wes Wiggin. Yep, he is going to tow it. So now there is your new race leader. He is one of the drivers who I believe is the best at pitting. He is, because in all honesty, it is surprising how well he can do it. At Indianapolis, I believe he was the one who did speed on pit road, went almost a lap down, got the lucky dog, fought his way back up, and ended up winning the race. So he knows how to make this pit road work, and he is honestly one of the best drivers that can make a pit stop outside of drivers like Justin Winters. So keep an eye on him, because he's going to be the guy that is going to be the pain in John Kinder's side to try and get that first win as he tries to get his third and have the most wins on the season. And like he said, boost his way up toward the top 10 of the championship, and not even need the 2 drop weeks to be a contender.
So the reason I was saying I like that strategy of trying to lengthen these runs is because it does allow you to hopefully work towards eliminating a pit stop. We have some smoke on the track. I think everything gets sorted out up ahead of these leaders. But, it looks like it's actually going to be around Nick Mills, possibly. Nick Mills, yeah, and David Brackett battling right now. I think that was the cause of the smoke, but they get things sorted out nonetheless. But I like trying to eliminate that pit stop down the road, because Darlington is a place where you can totally, especially with only 20 cars on the track, get into this long green run mentality and maybe not even have a caution flag this evening. I'm going to knock on wood before I completely go with that, but it absolutely could be the kind of place where we have just long green runs all night long, and you could end up making it work to your advantage, where if we have a caution or the end of the race comes right at that point of the pit cycle where you are still on the racetrack compared to everybody else. And over the course of 6 pit stops, if you just extend it by 5 laps, you're suddenly saving a whole pit run.
Something I have noticed, and I'm going to try and figure out what might have happened. Oh, this is something that we completely missed. It's a 22 of Travis Miller. He is stuck a lap down right now, and I was very surprised by that, and I was trying to figure out why. I looked back at the replay. We talked about Jack Bauer missing pit road. He came really close. He hit the cone, so obviously he missed pit road, so he had to serve the penalty. So just like Jack Bauer now, he has fallen, but a very costly mistake as he's trying to gap Miller more and more in his championship, and now he is the lucky dog. So he has that to fall back on, but a very costly mistake early in the race, and now he's going to have to try and play from the back end and crawl his way up to get a good finish here at Darlington, which is hard on his own just to do from the front, let alone a lap down and hoping for a caution, which we are not seeing yet. Speaking of the devil, the 38 David Brackett goes a lap down. That's actually going to put him on the lucky dog. So now Miller's got to try and chase him down and try to take that lap back.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Travis Miller to write himself back into this one because he is so far behind right now and has to work through all of this traffic, which he's faster than, but they have the rights to battle because they are lead lap cars and he's a lap down. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for this number 22, trying to work his way through these cars that technically have the right to battle before he does. So he's got to try and work his way, pick and choose his battles, and try to get on by these guys and get up into a position where he can race either for the lucky dog or maybe even back onto the lead lap. Hopefully he can maybe even do it that way, pull the old Bill Elliott and get himself back into this race. Meanwhile, here comes the leaders on Nick Mills. John Kinder all over Brandon Robertson, and this is the battle for the race lead. Kinder has been so good on the long run, but Brandon Robertson, an ace in pit road.
Absolutely. John Kinder is one of the strongest people who has that long run strategy down in the back. We talked about earlier in the season that Justin Winters was that, but Kinder has really came into his own in the last 3 weeks, and he has really shown himself to be a front running contender, and that's what we're starting to see out of him. So it's not a really question of if, but when he gets that first win, because if he keeps running the way he's running and running up here at the front, it doesn't even matter if he gets the winner, like if he gets a win or not. He is still a championship contender through and through, but obviously you want to have that one sticker on the B post of your car, and that's something that he is going to try and take with all his might. And with the fight of Nick Mills ahead of him with a lap traffic, that's really going to give him the chance to get around him, because right now Robertson's main goal is to make sure that he keeps Kinder behind him. If he can hold him up as long as he can and then get winners up there to fight with him, that's going to allow him more time to try and set off with the leaders. But the moment Kinder gets in front of him, expect him to just sail away like he has been his whole race. So right now Robertson is doing what we call mirror driving and just making sure that he keeps that 21 machine behind him.
And finally, Nick Mills pulls over. I thought we were going to have a repeat of Richmond where the lap cars really fought for things. And at Darlington, it's so tough to do so. At Richmond, at least you have grooves to try and get around the racetrack. But here at Darlington, man, it is so tough if you have somebody in front of you to get on by. You really have to ship it off into a corner and hope it sticks. I mean, we saw Justin Winters overdo the entry to 3 when he was passing Travis Miller and cook the outside wall. It's easy to do. I'm glad that he pulled down out of the way, and that was exactly what Brandon Robertson needed, because that whole battle, trying to get by the 8, is everything he did not want to see, and this is exactly why. John Kinder down to the inside, immediately goes on by the rims 1 Ford Mustang, and Brandon Robertson just lets him have it. He knows the 21's better right now.
That was something very interesting to see, is he came, in my opinion, I have to look back on it maybe. He got very loose off of turn number 2, and I'm surprised he had that much of a run. Winters now in the wall. He is spinning down towards the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to hold onto it, but a very costly mistake to him is he's going to, what an amazing save to keep that car off the wall, because that could have been a very costly mistake and put him back in the same position that his championship rival Travis Miller is in. But now it's going to bring that to a 2-car fight, as now the fight right now is going to be between John Kinder and Brandon Robertson. But now the look also is back to behind Justin Winter. That's Tyler Johnson, who we didn't see much of in Indianapolis or at Pocono. He's really kind of fallen off since his win at Charlotte, but now he is starting to make his name known again as he is running up here in the 4th spot and could potentially get around one of the championship contenders and move himself up into the 3rd spot. As now 2nd through 4th, that we talked about earlier, are all people who have won this season so far. So just an incredible turn of events here in the past few laps, and a very costly mistake that's going to put the 88 also on the back foot.
Another few battles around the racetrack. Tanner Webb is company from Wyatt Brackett right now in the 33 car. This is the battle for 6th spot. Matt Grenier still ahead of Travis Miller, and this is what I was afraid of for Travis Miller. He's absolutely faster than these guys, but can't find a good way to go by, and at this point his tires might be too worn to really get on by these guys. So he might have really messed his race up, and he's now got 2 cars that he's got to pass to get into the lucky dog position and get a lap back without either racing for it or getting the wave around. You see up ahead, though, the battle continues on with Brackett and the 17 of Tanner Webb. These guys bringing Matt Grenier into the fight. This is going to get good.
Yeah, and the thing about Darlington is when you're in clean air, like say John Kinder is, you can sail away. But when you're in the dirty air affects you so much at a track like this, and that's really what's going to really handicap that 22 machine as he tries to find his way around him, because you have so much of a run going into the corner compared to what you usually do that you're just really trying to fight it. You end up chasing the car more than you are trying to steer it, because you're trying to keep it off that wall so that way you don't lose so much time. But with just how much of a tow you get and being sucked right up behind that dirty air, it just really ruins any momentum you can get. So you really have to try and get these exits off the corner as perfect as you can, because if you don't, then the run's going to be ruined, and you're going to have to try and set it up all over again, because turn 2 is really the only corner where you really have it. Is, oh, Grenier gets in the wall. That's going to allow Miller to slide right behind him. He might get around him. Yep, nope. Grenier is going to let him by, it looks like, or at least they don't have the outside. They're going to go side by side down the straightaway, and Grenier is just going to follow the line and let him have it.
So finally, Miller gets by Grenier. Of course, that was not a pass for position, but a pass for moving Miller closer to getting that lap back. Meanwhile, side by side go Webb and Wyatt Brackett. Wyatt Brackett's going to get that spot. That's the drive for 6th position. The next car that he's got to look forward to is Adam Lancaster, but that's only if he can gap himself from Webb. The Southern Spoon Chevrolet, a throwback to Bill Elliott, trying to right himself back into that 6th place battle. Meanwhile, up ahead, Tyler Johnson has taken the position from Justin Winters to get into the top 3.
Yeah, again, Johnson's momentum tonight has been something else. I'm surprised that he didn't have this kind of speed at Pocono and Indianapolis, because this is just a track that is, in my opinion, a lot harder to drive in a cup car than either of those two. So the fact that he's able to pull away like the way he is and make himself known and now in a podium position is such incredible performance out of him. We're not even halfway through the race, but just the fact that he's able to do something like that early on in the goings really shows the pace that he has. And I really don't want to jinx it, but I'm just surprised we've gone green this long. It's something that I've really noticed that a lot of these drivers have done in the past few weeks, is that cautions have become very far and few between. We've had so many long green flag runs. It's just incredible to see these drivers be able to keep it clean for so long without a yellow coming out.
You say that, and then Johnson smacks the wall in the center of 1 and 2. Thankfully, he keeps going. Yeah, no, we've seen amazing racing from all of these guys, and clean racing as well. Travis Miller now trying to get by Tanner Webb. Again, not for position, but to just move himself closer to getting that lap back. We'll see, does he look to the inside in 3? He does. Will he take a move? He's going to look, and he's going to take that spot. Maybe he crowds him at the racetrack a tiny bit, but I mean, he's faster right now, and he's got to go to keep his race alive. So it's a reasonable fight from Travis Miller, but these are lead lap drivers that he has to fight off and to fight to get in front of, and that's going to anger some of them. I would not be surprised. So Travis Miller moving his way up just little by little, but he's really got to be careful while he does so. Meanwhile, here's Joshua Abbey about to go a lap down. He's 11th spot. Him losing this lap to John Kinder will make just 10 cars on the lead lap, just your top 10. John Kinder through Scott Fritz.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's surprising to see Joshua Abbey. He had such a good start running up there in the top 5, and it just all fall apart. Now he's back in the 11th position. He's going to let Nick Mills also go around him, so he's actually going to give up the 11th position and fall back to 12th just to let the leader go by. Up ahead, though, is trying to remember, is the '08 of Nicholas Noggle, who has been one of the guys who's been one of the stronger race contenders the past few weeks. He has really followed the pace. He's a lap down, has tore up the front end of that Skull Bandit machine, so he's obviously earned a couple Darlington stripes, and it's just a real struggle fest for him. He's just trying to hold on and get the points that he can, but he's starting to see that 21
Well, he's pitting. This is the start of our pit cycle.
Yep, here it comes again. We're about to approach lap 60, so yet again we're going to start to see these pit come in. So watch out for these leaders, because they're all going to come in again maybe, or maybe we're going to start to see some of these drivers spread it out. But regardless, oh, who was that? That was the Mountain Dew machine. He just slapped the wall. It was what coming into the corner, and that was a really hard hit. That was Brian Terry. He was trying to let the leaders by. He was on the very bottom of the racetrack and then just pancaked the wall in turn one. I'm surprised he was able to hold on to it, as you're going to see on the replay here.
This is the replay right in front of Joshua Abbott. Yeah, no, just tries to turn from the flat, and you can't do that. That's exactly what happens. And Brian Terry hard into that wall. Thankfully, keeps it on the racetrack, keeps going, does not hit anybody else. But, man, that was a tough one for him. We have nobody else has taken their second stop yet, aside from Ronnie Shark Jr. in the number 7 car. So we're just waiting on these leaders to make their second stop, and we're waiting to see who tries to start lengthening runs, if anybody. I'm not really sure that we're going to see any of the front runners do it. It seems like they're all in the same strategy. But at some point, you've got to break away. You can't beat somebody doing the exact same thing that they're doing. Somebody's got to break the mold.
Yeah, you want to try and stretch it out, because you just end up staying on the same strategy. We're going to see it over and over and over again of Robertson getting possibly ahead of John Kinder, so he needs to try and stretch that a little bit more. Maybe try to pull the undercut that we see sometimes, because if not, then he's really going to be on the back foot trying to beat him. And yes, they actually are going to stretch this pit cycle out a little bit longer, because they last pit on lap 31, so now they have gone a lap further than what they usually do, as Brandon Robertson's still falling behind. And now 3.2 seconds. Here goes Justin Winters, the first leader to take a pit stop. He's going to pit right on the mark of 30 laps. He's obviously trying to pull the 30-lap strategy, so he is apparently not even going to try and pull the long run strategy the last 2 weeks. Maybe he's like, I'm done trying to pull this, because every time I've done it, I've ran out of fuel in the closing stages of the race, and I'm not going to risk it anymore. So here comes John Kinder down pit road.
Our leader, John Kinder, down to the pit lane. You see Fritz behind him, Abbey, Robertson, Johnson, Lancaster barreling into the pit lane. Thankfully, doesn't hit the barrels, but certainly an aggressive pit entry, and he was starting to move his way up the field as well. In fact, I forget exactly where he was, but he pits from about the 5th place position. Travis Miller also down the pit lane, and we might have to keep an eye on this guy, make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes.
Yeah, and talk about Adam Lancaster. It's one of the things about Darlington. You have to really kind of break and turn, like even on the straightaway, just to get it down on the flat so that you don't spin out. And he actually went about, I think, 10 miles an hour over the speed limit exiting the pits. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a speeding penalty for that. But as you see, all eyes right now on Travis Miller to see if he doesn't make that mistake again. It looks like he possibly made it in there cleanly. I'll go back and look to see, and in fact, he does. So yeah, just looks like a clean pit stop. Going to take a little bit smoother going in there, and it's just going to take it and go out there and try and charge back down and maybe pass the lap cars that he's fighting for on pit road.
Meanwhile, Tanner Webb, currently a race leader, he stretches things out a couple of laps extra. He's now going to pit on lap 64 of 184. We'll see what Ed Osborne does. He's currently rolling through turns 3 and 4. He's going to go a lap extra, and he's going to take nobody else with him as Nick Mills. Well, actually, no, Nick Mills stays on the racetrack for at least one more lap, so he will see what he can do in the Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback, and throwing it back to days that we both want to remember as Dillon Jr. fans and forget, but the number 8 looking pretty solid in the, I think that's Country Boys Brewing Chevrolet Camaro. Ed Osborne, your race leader currently, but I think he just had a big moment out of turn 2. Let's see what happened to him in the 555.
Is he really slow off of turn number 3, and yes, he is going to make the dive down pit road. So that very tricky pit road, we're going to see how well he's able to make it in, and just fine, as now Nick Mills is going to resume to take over the race lead as he opts to stay out. So now Nick Mills starting to be the first person to really try and cut out pit stop. He was a lap down. It's going to be very interesting to see how much time he loses compared to the leaders, but now he does take the lead. You talked about that throwback. It's a really cool throwback to the Dale Jr., but the off color changing it from the red to the kind of like that reddish orange made me think back to the Taz throwback that he did. I don't know exactly what race. I believe it was Richmond that he ran after when he did the whole Looney Tunes throwback for the Rock and Roll 400. But still, it's just a really cool throwback. It just reminds me of the Taz machine when he ran. I believe it was in the Busch Series, was it?
That's a great question. It's pretty close, and actually, I think it's pretty darn close to some of the Menards paint schemes that they ran in the Busch Series at the time. For Chance 2 Motorsports and then Junior Motorsports, I'm pretty sure that's about the color that was on the Menards number 8 and 81 for Junior Motorsports in the early days, or I guess DEI at the time. I'm not really sure who it was for. Regardless, Nick Mills currently the leader. Here comes Jack Bauer to get on by, and this is to unlap himself technically, but he's still got some time to the eventual leader, John Kinder, who's exiting turn 4. Now thereabouts, about 9 seconds back of leader Nick Mills still. And Nick Mills, he really is only extending things a couple of extra laps. It's just so much longer than everybody else right now because he got the extra laps in the first run. So it's going to continue this way. Now he's going to come down to the safety of pit lane and take his pit stop.
John Kaner now in turn number 3. He will resume the race lead when that happens. I'm surprised by this, of how much he's able to jump Robertson, because he came in at about the same lap. So the fact that he's able to spread it out by about 4 seconds on pit road alone is just incredible, because of what we saw last time in the Seckle when Robertson actually came out ahead of him. So obviously, Kinder figured something out, and he's able to sail away, and now he's just going to resume back to what he was doing, and now he looks to lap the number 38 of David Bracken. That's something I'm surprised to see, because he actually was running towards about the top half of the field, and now he's really starting to fall off late in this race.
And he'll lose his second lap here. It's lap number 70 now for John Kinder. We're just clicking them off one by one, and suddenly we have a new challenger, Adam Lancaster. I don't know where this guy came from, but he must have a knack for Darlington. He's looking great. He's up into third place. He gets on by Justin Winters through the pit cycle and maybe even just on new tires. And suddenly, this number 28, Hardy's Cale Yarbrough throwback, is looking pretty darn good. He's going to have to get by some lap traffic here. Scott Fritz in 10th spot, Ed Osborne in 9th. But if he can get by these guys and keep going with relative ease, man, that 28 might be coming for second.
Yeah, that's something we really saw out of him at Pocono. He was one of the guys who's able to run up at the front just because he did the same thing as John Kinder. Those two hooked together, they would stretch it out about 10 laps longer to try to cut a pit stop. But Lancaster ended up, I believe, getting a speeding penalty that ended up ruining the race for him. No, I believe actually he shot through his pit stall. That's what happened. And that ruined the race for him. He kind of fell off at Indianapolis, but he just really came back. So drivers like Tyler Johnson and Lancaster are really starting to show their colors again with what we saw of them earlier in the season, now starting to make a run towards the front. As Kinder as well, we talk about over and over again this past few weeks, is really starting to show pace and become one of the front runners in the series that we haven't really saw out of him yet throughout most of the season. But he has just been dominating so far here tonight at Darlington. It is incredible of how well he has his track figured out.
And Noah, in NASCAR, we have the big 3, the big 4, the big 2, whatever number it is that season. And it really is just a matter of that group of drivers dominating over the course of 36 races. And it's a year-long grind, of course. And you really feel like it's just a year of those drivers. Here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, it's only 12 races for the entire season, yet we're still seeing some comers and goers throughout the season that you might see in NASCAR. Usually you might see guys open up the season real well and then start to fall off, maybe even come back at the end. But we're seeing a changing of the guard right now that you don't usually see in these 12-race leagues, where Travis Miller, Justin Winters, they are fire right out of the gates. And here comes John Kinder and even Adam Lancaster possibly trying to take over.
Yeah, and then drivers like he's also talking about Tyler Johnson. He won on his debut, just fell off and is really starting to come back and making himself known. So it's kind of like on a track-on-track basis, I believe, for Johnson, depending on where he goes. But man, Kinder has just really came into his own. Same for Lancaster. Those guys have just really figured this thing out. and have been able to run up in the front. Nicholas Noggle, to talk about one of those comers and goers, he has been strong the last few weeks, but he's really fallen off here at Darlington. He's about to go another lap down by the hands of John Kinder as he sailed off into one. And Noggle hard on the wall. He's going to gather it back up, but more and more damage to the right side of that 08 machine, as he is just struggling right now. And this has just not been a good night for that Skull Bandit, as here comes Robertson, going to just fly right by him.
And of course, Darlington is too tough to tame. Right now, though, John Kinder through 75, now 76 laps, taming it with relative ease. Before we go any further this evening, of course, we have some partners here at PitStop TV. We always like to thank them for their support of us, and hopefully you thank them as well. Go check out their social media, but let's talk about them just a bit. Of course, we want to start off with Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. You provide the image you want and we'll custom create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Of course, we also want to thank the BRP iRacing Series for partnering with us here at PitStop TV. The BRP iRacing Series is a series run by Northeastern Big Block Modified drivers, crew guys, and fans. If you're looking to get into dirt racing or already are, this league is for you. BRP is a fixed setup league that runs 360 wing sprint cars and pro late models. The BRP iRacing Series will be adding the Big Block mods to the series lineup upon their release on the iRacing.com service. You can find BRP on their Facebook page, the BRP iRacing Series. As usual, thank you so much to Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. And when it comes to your appearance, Noah, you deserve the best care that money could buy. And at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine a call today to book a consultation. Finally, Whiplash Media, it's our new parent organization that specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. Back to you, Noah.
Well, back at the race, talk about BRP iRacing Series, the sponsor of the car, Travis Miller, has actually made his way around Scott Fritz, and now he is the third car in line a lap down. He is currently chasing down Joshua Abbey, who is not too far ahead of him. He is entering around turns 1 and 2, so he is just ahead of him, and then not too far ahead of him, exit on the mid-pack point of the back straightaway, is Ed Osborne. So Travis Miller now has really started to crawl his way to the field and is coming closer and closer to getting that lucky dog position. And then he just has to stay there. But the driver you have to worry about is Tanner Webb, who right now is coming closer and closer to going a lap down by the hands of John Kinder. So just as you think that it's about to get good and that Miller can maybe calm down a bit and try to run his race, it gets harder and harder because these guys are just getting lapped down, getting put down a lap after lap, as now we are now only about 8 cars on a lead lap, about to go 7, which is incredible how far this race has come so as of right now.
That's what happens when you have this long green run here at Darlington. It's easy to fan these cars out, especially when you only have 20 of them. That's about half of what you usually see in NASCAR. So it's a much more reduced field. These guys get spread out immediately, everybody trying to take it easy on the start. And then it's just hard to get grouped back up at a place like Darlington. You have those big battles eventually, and we've seen them just pop up throughout the field. But it's hard to maintain those because it's just so hard to get side by side and hold it. So it's really easy to thin the herd here at Darlington, but it makes for some great racing regardless.
Yeah, it's just thinning the herd. It really is a track where you talk about over there, it's just too tough to tame, but it's a track that is really a track that proves who is a wheelman around here, who knows how to run a racetrack, because it's not just a track like any cookie cutter where you just show up and you have the throttle rhythm down and you can just hammer away. No, this is a track that you have to be good at. This is a track that requires skill on every level to run the high line. Is why it produces such good racing for dirt car drivers who came in here before, like drivers like Jason Leffler and Casey Kane and so forth, just a lot of guys who are dirt racers can succeed at it because they're used to ripping the lip, as they say in dirt racing, and just running this high line up against the wall and being able to do it. It's a track that, just like Homestead, you just run up at the top and be able to keep it off the wall and have such good runs up the corner. And that's just one of the things that make Darlington so unique, that this is more of a high-line racetrack, and also just how thin it is. Because you see how wide it is on the bottom, but really you can only run those top 2 or 3 lanes, which just makes it so much harder to run. You see all that bottom part, but you can only run the top side.
I'm so glad, Noah, that you mentioned Jason Leffler, because today is actually, it would have been his 45th birthday. If he were still with us, he'd be 45 years old. Jason Leffler was an absolute wheelman. I truly miss him in the sport of racing. I wasn't necessarily, I was always a Dale Jr. fan growing up. I wasn't necessarily a big Leffler fan, but I always respected him for some reason. There was just something in the back of my mind that I always had massive respect for Jason Leffler. Again, today, September 16th, would have been his 45th birthday. I think just by coincidence you mentioned him, but it's really fitting.
Yeah, it is really a weird coincidence. And I'm just going to point this out real quick. Robertson has entered the pits very early, I might add. But going back to your talk about Leffler, I was lucky enough to be at the 2007 Kroger 200. And for those of you who know, that is Leffler's last win. And that's something I keep pride in. Is I actually have the ticket from that race still. And it's something that I really didn't pay too much mind to up until the point of realize that I was able to witness somebody's last career win, and then just be able to see the emotion that comes through winning a track like IRP, which, much like Darlington, is another track that requires a lot of skill to run on. And luckily for drivers like Jason Leffler, it was just a track where running sprint cars for so long, coming there for what was Thursday Night Thunder back in the late 90s, like Jeff Gore would run, it was just a track that a lot of sprint car drivers could go to. And when they came to NASCAR and would run there, they were really able to succeed just because of the experience they had there. Drivers like also the late Brian Clausen, the late great Brian Clausen, my dad, such a wheelman in his own right, and a legend in the sprint car ranks that was gone way too soon, just like Leffler. But they were able to succeed on tracks like this. I'd have to look at Clausen's, how he did here, because he had about, I believe, one maybe 2 seasons in the Nationwide Series he ran with Ganassi. But he was another one of those guys that was able to do so well at tracks where you couldn't just jam the throttle and be able to hold it wide open, like tracks like Darlington, where you had to have enough skill to maneuver your way around a joint like Darlington.
And as John Kinder rolls out of turn number 2, next time around, he's going to take lap 92 this time by. Once he completes lap 92, that is halfway. Which brings me into the point of Brandon Robertson pitting on about lap 88. That's real interesting, and it's definitely early. Tyler Johnson also down the pit lane for his service. Looks like Ed Osborne may be on the way soon. No, he's not. He's just rolling a bit slow through 3 and 4. So we are now on the last lap of the first half here at Darlington Raceway. It's real interesting that the 2-car of Robertson pitted that early, because he's now got to make some laps back up, because this pit cycle is going to come right at halfway, proving that we have 2 more pit stops to go after this round of pit stops. I'm really surprised. Justin Winter is going to head down the pit lane right at the completion of halfway. John Kinder is still on the racetrack, so this is about when we expect to see the 21 come down the pit lane, either this time or next. These guys pitting just a little bit early after running a couple of laps extra. I'm wondering if the strategy from Brandon Robertson in the number 2 is to short pit now and try and get ahead of some guys, possibly even John Kinder, and then start getting back on schedule from here on out, because otherwise he's really going to be in some trouble. John Kinder does come down the pit lane this time. He brings Jack Bauer and Joshua Abbey with him. We'll see if anybody else comes in this lap. It looks like, Ed Osborne is in. Joshua Abbey, as I mentioned. Tyler Johnson. Uh-oh. Really long pit stop. 54.5 seconds.
Well, then that just kind of brings me to the idea that he possibly has spent on pit road. I'm going to look back at the speed he was when he entered. But obviously, yeah, he was sitting in there for a while. So either he fixes damage.
A lot of damage repair, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm looking. Oh, yeah, look at his entry. Same mistake Jack Bauer made. He missed the cone, but still decided to pit. So he got the damage repair too, but the same mistake that put drivers like Miller and Bauer back behind a lap down is the same mistake that Johnson's going to make, and that's really going to ruin his race, as now he is 2 laps down, going to be about 1 lap down by the time this is all said and done. But just a very, very costly mistake made by the 6 that is going to ruin the momentum that he's had this entire first half of the race. It's just all going to come apart.
And you really just got to take that hit, Noah. You've just got to accept that you've missed pit entry, go around, do it again, because otherwise you're going to have a more costly penalty if you decide to still pit. And I can't believe we've had 3 different drivers do it. I brought up the fact that Justin Winters made that practice pit entry in qualifying because it is so important. And if you mess it up, it's certainly going to cost you. Despite, I don't know if these guys have practiced all week on just pit entry or if they haven't practiced at all, but at some point you've got to realize that if you are not going to make it, it's more beneficial to just keep going and try and sacrifice what you can. If you're on the verge of fuel and you might run out, but I think that's about the only time that you just deal with it and pit because you're not going to make it around another lap. But if you can go one more lap, you have to.
Yeah, but I also got to point out that Travis Miller is that while he did miss the pit entry, that there wasn't really much that he could do after that because he had the right side all outside the line. He just hit the cone. It wasn't like the same mistake that you see that Tyler Johnson and Jack Bauer made, where they just completely missed an opted to turn, cut back in. No, Miller was going to get the penalty anyway, regardless. He would have actually probably have got an unsafe pit exit because he cut back out of the commitment line. So he just had to accept his fate and take it with a grain of salt. And he has been trying to fight his way back up there. But it's just incredible that we're seeing these guys miss pit road so wide and then just decide, you know what, I'm going to pit anyways and just take it. It's just very interesting to see that. And there's one car that I believe was slow on pit road. I'm trying to find out what happened there. Oh, that was Nick Mills. No, he just keeps coming down pit road. It's a lot slower than what I expected. I thought he actually came to a stop. But no, he's going to take his pit stop, which is right now handing the lead over to Tanner Webb, who is pulling off the straightaway. Yep, he's going to make a safe pit entry, not risk it like the other guys, and he's just going to go in there, take the pit stop, and now the Allies are on the number 2 tied throwback of Brandon Robertson, who's going to try and hold off the hard-charging John Kinder, who is on about, I would say, 8 to 9 laps fresher tires. He's going to try and run him down and take over the race lead, but not if Robertson has anything to say about it, as now he has 3 cars ahead of him, and I will correct that it was 6 laps fresher tires, but the point still stands. A lot fresher tires because 6 laps is a long way around Darlington, South Carolina.
And I can confirm the strategy not going to work out for Nick Mills. These guys are good on about the same window, and Nick Mills has not saved quite enough to eliminate a pit stop. So at this point, if you're Nick Mills, you've got to cut your losses and just start trying to make up as much time as you can. Jack Bauer goes on by the number 05, and we just lost it for a second. Caution comes out. Just the battle that I was talking about. Joshua Abbey around in turn 1 with the help of Jack Bauer. Let's watch the battle off into turn 1. What happens? Yeah, I think there's some contact, and whether or not it's netcode, of course. Oh my, John Kinder. I don't know how he missed Joshua Abbey, but thankfully he did. But as I was talking about, I'm not sure. That may have been netcode contact between these two because I don't see any damage to the 05, but it looks like there was contact nonetheless. So let's first check out the onboard from Jack Bauer and see if we can find out if there was actual contact there or not. And then we got to check that onboard of John Kinder somehow missing that incident. So this is down the front stretch on board with Jack Bauer.
And you see he dived down. It's kind of the same mistake that Martin Truex Jr. made. He got on the flat trying to arc it better and just ran up into him. Just misjudged the corner and just spun the 05. Obviously not intentional, just a big mistake on his part that's going to cost him. And now Abbey, who's 2 laps down, going to fall back to 15th. So the 2 Hendricks throwbacks, the Johnson throwbacks nonetheless, have made contact here near the onboard. Kinder, it's just an incredible save. As he's going to roll down the track and oh my goodness, gosh, that was incredible. That could have been a race-ending wreck, but he's able to hold on to it. And that's one of the things about Darlington, saving it is so hard. So when you pull something off like that, you can tell he was putting everything he can into it to avoid that spinning 05 car.
Let's watch this in slow-mo. I mean, this is incredible. This is from his onboard, and this is just incredible that he misses the sliding 05. Oh my gosh, that is insane. Let's see if we have a better shot of it, possibly, because that's just incredible that he barely gets by the 05 like that as he's spinning. And there was definitely a bit of contact there from the 48 to the 05 of Joshua Abbey. And Brandon Robertson has come down the pit lane. He has come in for service, a 30-second pit stop as well, so a long one. And this is really going to put him on the better edge of things. I don't know why you wouldn't pit here at Darlington. I don't care if you've only run 8-10 laps or so. This gives you a chance to shorten up the subsequent runs from here, Noah. And this is a great move, I think, by Brandon Robertson. He's going to come out in fifth spot, only have to go through 4 cars, one of which he hasn't seen all night long in Ed Osborne unless he was lapping him. So I think this is a great move for the number 2 car, and this is going to put him right back in the conversation of possibly winning this race, and he pitted from the lead as well. So this is a great move. In fact, Adam Lancaster also going to pit. We have more takers the second time around, all these lap cars, in fact. I see Nick Mills, Tanner Webb, Brian Terry, Scott Fritz, Travis Miller, and David Brackett. But now actually Ed Osborne, well, I think he's going to the back. He might have been our lucky dog.
Yes, he was. Ed Osborne was the lucky dog during all that.
This is an absolute win. Where's the Hulk meme? This is an absolute win for Brandon Robertson. He's got fresh tires, and he's going to be restarting 3rd place. I don't know why you wouldn't pit right here. Brandon Robertson is going, I'm calling it now, unless we have a wreck with these 3, he's going to be our race leader in just a matter of laps.
Yeah, obviously he knows something that we didn't because he pitted a lot earlier trying to perform the undercut of the 21, and then on top of that just doing this. So he's thinking ahead of what a lot of these leaders are, and I think those guys are going to be kicking themselves because they're thinking, why would I want to lose all the track position? And look at time and score, it's like, oh my goodness, he's only going to fall back to 7th, and he's going to be right behind me on about 10 to 15 laps fresher tires. That's obviously a very drastic judgment on how far they were able to make on that run, but regardless, it's just night and day difference from fresh tires to these old scuffed tires, and he's just going to be able to fly around them depending on how much the traffic hinders his performance on his restart.
We do have more takers under this pit cycle. Everybody coming back in for some last-second damage repairs and such. Pace car lights have shut off, though. We only have a few cars lined up, so these guys are going to be scrambling to get lined up and get back. Green Flag Racing, I want to quickly shout out to Brandon Austin Metler out in the chat, out on YouTube, the BAM Racing videos guy. Go follow him because he does some pretty cool stuff, and I know him from Real Racing, working with Pit Road TV. Shout out to you. I see you there, Metler. Pretty cool to see some of these guys checking us out. Everybody's scrambling to get back lined up, though. We are on the far side of now halfway. Noah Carmichael. Things are going to get interesting, and it's a pretty cut and dry run to the end from here. Everybody going to have to make 2 pit stops. Even these guys pitting now, not quite good to the end to shorten the run. Nick Mills, though, by all means, he might just try it, but regardless, coming to the restart here, lap 104, coming to lap 105 of 184. It is the Bluegrass iRacing Series Round 7 at Darlington Raceway. Everybody's getting lined up, ready to go back. Green Flag Racing, John Kinder with the restart, and he is going to immediately take first place well over Justin Winters, but here comes the 2.
The 2 cars shooting in there. We got a little bit loose on entry. Those fresh tires, obviously, it's going to take about a lap or 2 for them to really set in, and after that, he's going to be on rails. But even then, you can see just on the fresh tires, look how much of a run he has down the straightaway. He is reeling them in. Here he comes. He is right on the back door. You look on the inside and just shoot around him. New leader is the number 2, and he's going to sail away from the race lead and say bye-bye. As now the question is, how far is he going to be able to stretch that lead if borrowing another caution, or if John Kinder, who's been so good on these long runs, is going to be able to overcome the tire differences and be able to take back the race lead, because he's not really falling that far ahead of the 21 cars. He's still there.
Yeah, it may take a moment for these tires to really come into their own, but I don't think there's any beating the number 2 on this run right here. They might be able to kind of keep with one another just because of the draft, especially through turns 1 and 2. But I think we're going to see this 2-car walk away on this run. And the nice thing is, he can either go the 30-lap distance and have better tires 10 or so laps after those guys and run them back down, or he can just make a short run right here and get back on cycle with them. It's up to him at this point. And the pit cycle to the end is going to be real interesting, watching what he does if we go green. I'm going to knock on wood again because it just might not go that way. Of course, we've had a lot of yellows before, but man, hopefully it does go green just to see how this works out, because this is going to be an interesting battle for these guys to now have to overcome the tire difference. I will say, John Kinder, Justin Winters, Adam Lancaster, even Matt Grenier is surprising me right now, somewhat keeping with this 2-car. He might just be saving his stuff, too.
Something else you want to keep in mind, if you look on timing and scoring, look who's in a lucky dog position. The restart didn't only help Brandon Robertson, it helped Travis Miller, because now he is back on the lucky dog spot. So if he gets a caution, he's going to be back on the lead lap and possibly make this a 4-car fight for the race win. So right now he is praying a caution comes out, which might come soon, as Kendra going to be looking to the inside. Going to go side by side with the two of Robertson down in turn number 1. You're going to see how well those fresher tires prevail if you can get it. You just see running away with it on exit. He has so much momentum on those fresher tires. So obviously Kender has the faster pace. He's able to do it. Oh my bad. I was actually on. I was on pit lane 2 camera, which I have set up on the backstretch camera, which back in about the 80s and 90s was the old front stretch. So I'm actually switching around, going old school on this one, but still. Right now, the 21 of John Kender trying to reel him in, and right now it's just incredible how much of a run those fresher tires have compared to the 2. Or 21, I should say.
And it honestly seems like John Kinder is running at 105%. Meanwhile, Brandon Robertson's closer to 90% right now. I don't think he's trying too hard. I think he's trying to really lengthen the run of these tires a little bit and just hold on to the lead, and I don't blame him, though I might want to honestly build up a gap and try and gap this 21, but if he does run too hard, he gets the wall just like that. That opens the lead back up. Here comes John Kinder once more. Meanwhile, maybe a pass for 4th. Here comes Matt Grenier. He wants to get out of just 5th spot and move up in the top 5. John Kinder going to put the pressure on Brandon Robertson as Grenier takes that 4th spot from Lancaster, and this is great stuff.
Yeah, and if you look back there as well, it was for 2nd, 5th, and 6th were the Labonte brother throwbacks, because obviously Grenier using the Terry Labonte throwback and White Bracket running the Bobby Labonte throwback. So that's one of the funny things I noticed is the fact that the brothers are having paint schemes, but it's not the brackets. It's actually just a coincidence of the fact that Grenier chose to run that instead. But yeah, you talk about clipping the wall, so now Robertson can add a Darlington stripe to his side of the car, which is one of the things that is just tells you how hard he is pushing his car to try and run out that lead. Because another story that's kind of running famous around Darlington is the story that Jeff Gordon told, where he was running here in about the 90s. He finished the race. I believe he actually won it. He didn't have a scratch on the car, and he was proud about that. And when he showed up to Ray and Everham, he was actually upset with them, saying, the fact that you don't have a scratch in that car tells me you weren't pushing it to your absolute limit. So he was upset about that, which just tells you, unless you don't have a Darlington stripe, you really aren't pushing it as hard as you can, which is obviously what Robinson's trying to do to try and outrun that 21 car.
Well, Noah, since we are on the far side of halfway, we do want to check out the entirety of the field here so far at Darlington. So let's go ahead and look down the field. Brandon Robertson currently leading. John Kinder about 8/10 back. So this is all if it was to end right now, obviously. Justin Winters in 3rd, Matt Grenier 4th, Wyatt Brackett in 5th, Adam Lancaster sitting there in 6th spot, and Osborne, the final car on the lead lap after getting the lucky dog on our 1 caution so far. Travis Miller currently would get the lucky dog if we had another yellow. Tyler Johnson in 9th place after a pit penalty as well. Scott Fritz in 10th.
Running back in 11th is Jack Bauer, still rebounding after that early pit stop mistake. Behind him is Tanner Webb. Back in 13th is Dick Mills, who tried pulling that long run strategy. Behind him is Wes Wiggin, who also is trying to perform off the long run, the pit mistake that he performed. Joshua Abbey actually just passed him for the 14th position. Back there in 16th and 30th of David Brackett. 17th is we're going to find Brian Terry. In the 18th position is Nicholas Noggle. 19th is where you're going to find our first DNF, Ronnie Shirk Jr., who pulled off earlier in the race. He's now 39 laps down. And then 20th is Daniel Worthington, who missed the start and just decided to call it quits at the end of his night.
And Matt Grenier has taken over 3rd spot. Justin Winters not looking very good here at Darlington. The Allen's Body Shop, number 88, back into 5th spot now as he loses that position to Wyatt Brackett. Here comes Adam Lancaster to get back by the 88. He's done it once before, and quite honestly, I think the 28 on a long run looks better than most of the cars ahead. He can at least finish 3rd.
Yeah, you're talking about the Allen's Body Shop, number 88. He might need to take a visit to him because you saw on the screen, he just pancaked the wall from turn 2. And that's one of the things I talked about in the pre-race is just the fact that turn 2 sneaks up on you so much. You really have to back off the throttle just a little bit to arc it late in the corner and try and get a good run off of 2 because of how easily that sneaks up to you. So right now he is falling behind now as he is one of the guys who didn't pit, so he's obviously just trying to hold on, but Lancaster's going to reel him in. He's about to be the last car on the lead lap besides Ed Osborne, who's really fallen off ever since the restart because of the fact that he didn't pit because of being the lucky dog. He was like way back in the field around where the 17 of Tanner Webb is, so about around where 12th spot is on track. But still, just not a good run on the restart for that number 88, as right now Robertson still sailing away with the race lead at about 2.3 seconds, as John O'Kenner just biding his time for the next round of green flag pit stops to try and overtake that 2 again. Or just hoping for a caution. That works too.
And we're just about into our pit window here, Noah. We're at about 64 laps to the end, and these guys have to pit 2 more times. Doesn't matter who you are in the field, you've got to pit again. And these guys are going to be coming in about 5 laps, maybe sooner. It depends on if they want to try the undercut or if they want to go a little bit longer. Multiple cars have pitted more recently, though. Brandon Robertson, namely, has pitted about 19 laps ago under that caution. Matt Grenier as well. Wyatt Brackett also stopped under that yellow. Justin Winters did not. Adam Lancaster did. Ed Osborne did not. Travis Miller did. And at that point, you're a lap down. So, those guys, it's really just a matter of trying to watch who gets the win at this point, because this is going to be a great 3 or 4, maybe even 5-car battle at the end. But let's touch on those guys lap down real quick. Travis Miller, the fastest of those cars by far. He's got Tyler Johnson that he does have to worry about, though. Jack Bauer as well. They did not pit under that yellow. Miller did. Scott Fritz pitted. Tanner Webb pitted. Joshua Abbey pitted. All those other guys a lap down, aside from Nicholas Noggle pitted. Nicholas Noggle 4 laps down, should be in soon.
Yeah, now we're talking about Travis Miller, the guy racing for the lucky dog spot. Something he doesn't want to see is Ed Osborne, because right now he is off on the midway point of the back straightaway, but whereas Brandon Robertson exiting turn number 2. So he's about to go a lap down again, which would be a nightmare moment for the number 22. He is trying to hold on to the lucky dog spot. Right now he's in the midpoint of turns 1 and 2. Osborne has just crossed our finish line. So he's about almost over half the racetrack ahead of him. So if he goes a lap down, that's really going to ruin it for the 22 to try and get the lucky dog if a caution comes out. So right now he is really hoping that if one does come, it comes soon, so that way he can get that lap back immediately. As now Lancaster, the first of the leaders, make a pit stop, which is surprising to see considering he pitted on the last caution.
Exactly 60 laps to go from here. He's getting the undercut. I like the move. He's going to likely leapfrog Winters, Brackett, maybe even Grenier, and move up a few positions. John Kinder also going to come in out of turns number 3 and 4, so he comes in just a little bit sooner. Brandon Robertson, the playbook is open right now, as Justin Winters also going to come in for service. The playbook is open for the number 2. He can go a little bit further, or he can pit right with these leaders. It's totally up to him, and regardless, I think he's got the better edge.
And also, I want to point out real quick, if you look at the chopper cam on the 88 Winters, the Interpit Road, just how close he came to ruining this race, because he was right about a few inches off that line of having the unsafe pit entry, which would have been a cost mistake. It looks like it from there, but if you look at it from that camera right there, you're going to see just how close he was. The fact that he's able to hold on to it proves like how well. Yeah, look at that. My goodness, the fact that he didn't go across that line is an incredible save that just saved his race as well.
John Kinder headed back out onto the racetrack. Ed Osborne should be soon as well. In fact, he's actually getting service right now, so he'll be back out there shortly. Justin Winters exits now as well, so Kinder hangs on to that spot. And we're just waiting on Brandon Robertson, really. That's the next domino to fall. As Travis Miller, you know what? Even if he doesn't get his lap back this race, even if he stays 1 lap down, as long as he doesn't make another costly mistake, he's still going to have a decent night. I mean, 8th place is not too bad, especially given the hiccups that Justin Winters has had recently and the fact that Justin Winters is looking beatable. Meanwhile, Brandon Robertson comes in, and he has run a little bit further into this run, which is going to shorten up the runs to the end for him, means he'll have a little bit better tires than those other guys that had to pit when they did.
Yeah, I'm surprised he pitted as early as he can. One of the things I'm going to be questioning is how well that strategy is going to play out, because of the fact that drivers like we talked about Adam Lancaster, who pitted on 60, he's going to try and pull this out to where he barely makes it to the end. Kind of the same strategy that Winters pulled in Indianapolis that ended up being costly for him. So he's really playing with fire trying to pull this off. And if he does, that's going to be, he should possibly take the lead by the time that Brandon has to pit because, in fact, he's going to be pitting with about close to 25 to go. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out when that last round of pit stops happen. And then you see the 15 of McInerney down pit road. As now he's going to make the long drive around this front straightaway. As now it looks like it should be handing over to John. You see John Kinder. Wyatt Brackett also exiting pit road. Travis Miller, though, he might be taking over the race lead by the time this is all over, because he's right now in second. He's going to pass the number 15 when he comes down the front straightaway. Now he's fighting Nick Mills, who I believe is still actually stuck a lap down.
Well, he's about to lose that lap again to John Kinder, and Miller has not pitted yet. Sorry, not lose a lap, but loses the lead right there. So he gets a lap led right there. He already had, though. So he gets his name back into the back, but he still has to come down pit lane for service. And, oh, we have a wreck behind! This is going to save Travis Miller! This is going to save him! Wes Wiggin contact with Nick Mills.
That was a nasty hit for both of them. And my goodness. Also, you want to talk about saves again? Sean Kinder had one. How about you look on the onboard of the 2 car of how close he almost got taken out and all of that. Oh my goodness, you have to look at the onboard. That is amazing that he did not get clipped by the number 8. That is amazing that he was able to hold on to that. Just look at this.
We see it there from the TV camera. Oh, and Lancaster as well almost got taken out by Wiggin spinning up the racetrack. No fault of Wiggin at that point, but it is fault of Wiggin that this caution exists, because you'll see on the replay again here, he just smacks the outside wall, ricochets him into Nick Mills, and big, oh, you know what? Robertson may have collected the 8. We're going to have to take a look back at it. He might have nose damage. From that look, it looked like he got the back end of the 8 car as he was spinning. Let's take a couple of looks back. I think he gets some damage out of this. Let's take the slow-mo as everything develops up ahead. He's already going to have a tricky situation, and he clips the 8 car, and pretty good too, and that's going to hurt the 2.
Yeah, that is really going to put some damage on the front end of that car, which might cause some understeer, which is already bad enough with how this track is. But man, that is a very bad spot to be in, as now he's going to try and have to hold on to that damage, because he obviously the last thing he wants to do is come down pit road and fix that damage under caution, because now, unlike last time when you had about 7 cars in the lap, if he does come down, he's going to fall back to 10th, and guess who that helps out? Because of the fact that those guys had him pit, Travis Miller doesn't have to use the wave around. Drivers like Ed Osborne, Tanner Webb, Joshua Abbey, David Brackett's actually going to get his lap back because of all this. So that was a very well-timed caution for all those guys who were trying to get the lucky dog, which has just opened the door for a lot of people who have fast cars and have made those costly pit mistakes, is now going to boost them back up to the front of this field.
A lot of drivers being written back into this one. While we have the chance under yellow flag, I want to see if we can talk to Brandon Robertson himself and hear his thoughts about the damage moving forward, because that damage is going to hurt him. The race goes from looking like it might be his to now looking like he might be back out of it. I'll hand him up to you, Noah.
Brandon Robertson is no Carmichael in the PitStop TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, you've had one of the strongest cars all night, but just tell us what was going through your mind through turns 1 and 2 when you saw the 8 car and the 188 collect each other right in front of you.
Man, I knew somebody was going to be pushing the issue there. We were all bunched up, and it looks like Kinder got up ahead of us when he pitted a little early, and yeah, I got some damage, it looks like, but I'm staying out. I'll fix that damage when I come back in for the green flag stop, hopefully, and we'll go get the win.
And one of the things we pointed out was under the last caution, you pitted, which puts you in a very good spot if this race went green. What is the game plan moving forward now? Because of the fact that we're under caution, this kind of resets the whole field once again. What do you plan on doing to maybe pull off another win to go 3 in a row in your start so far this year?
I'm just going to try to split it here, and hopefully it goes green. If it goes, if we get more cautions here, we're pretty much done for. So, because we don't have, I think everybody else has 1 extra set.
All right, well, hopefully we get able to see you pull off another miracle here at Darlington. Good luck out there, and hopefully we talk to you later on in the end of the race.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's Brandon Robertson currently sitting in second place. We're coming to the restart this time by Noah. Hopefully it works out for the Ricky Craven throwback number 2, but I don't know. I'm not so confident now with that front end damage for the number 2 car. I think this puts the race back in the hands of John Kinder, but watch out for Travis Miller on those fresh tires. He's only as far back as 7th place, and he just might have the tire strategy to beat some of these guys on this restart. It's only a few lap newer tires, but man, suddenly Travis Miller back into things, and that's really exciting for me to have a bunch more of these guys back into this race for what's going to be a 51-lap shootout from this restart. John Kinder, though, is our race leader. He's got Robertson to his outside, Winters behind, Lancaster to the side and behind. Grenier rounds out the top 5. Coming to the restart, waiting on the signal from the starter. The green flag waiting in the wings. Green flag flies. Kinder's on the loud pedal.
And he's going to jump out again. Something he's been really good at is these restarts, catching these guys sleeping, and now he's going to rocket off to a car length lead entering into turn number 1. Winner's going to take back over 3rd. And you talk about the guys who were able to get back in it because of that caution. I brought in a lot of lethal contenders that could come out and run with these leaders for the race win. Drivers like Grenier, Brackett, Lancaster, and obviously Miller, which reopens the points gap. You see how that back camera, look how close he is. Little devil horns because of the contact he made with the number 8 machine, as now he's going to try and look all over the back bumper, maybe get a run off of turn number 2 and sail off into 3 and take back the race lead with Lancaster as well. Trying to do the same thing with Winters, maybe move himself up into 3rd as they sling it off of turn number 2. You're going to see who has to run as they make their way towards 3.
And it is worth mentioning, Nick Mills spun on that restart. He gathers it back up. No caution. We keep racing. Wes Wicken back there with him. I wonder if maybe there was more contact. Meanwhile, Brandon Robertson, the charge back to the lead possibly. He gets to the inside of Kinder down into 1. He's going to take it. Here comes Winters. Lancaster goes by as well. Trouble for John Kinder as he lets a bunch of these guys go by. But his strength is on the long run. Oh, Grenier so sideways out of turn 2. 3 wide down the backstretch. Here comes Miller.
Miller is a man on a mission. He is not letting off one bit. He has shot his way now up into the 6th position and is now going to look towards the man who has dominated the whole race. A very costly mistake for the 21. That's going to fall him back all the way back to the 4th position. But man, Miller is unrelentless right now. He is making a move, and the fact that he is willing to go 3 wide off the dotted line all the way down to the flat part of the racetrack entering the corner is just incredible. He's able to hold on to it, and that was a very, very costly move that ended up working out for him, as now he's potentially going to take over the 4th position as he makes their way back into turn number 1. Got to see if he's able to make that move.
Miller looked, but didn't stick his nose down there. Of course, got to be patient at a place like Darlington. We are rolling up at about 40 laps to go, and these guys have to get to about lap 154 or so before they're comfortable to pit. So we still have some running to go. Justin Winters is bringing the fight to Brandon Robertson right now. Despite the added damage to the number 2, it's looking pretty stout. And the Tide Toyota Camry, I almost said Chevrolet for some reason. The Tide Toyota Camry looking pretty good. I mean, despite the damage, that car might still be in winning condition. He said he's going to see us in victory lane, so we'll see if he can keep true. Meanwhile, look at Travis Miller. The new tires put him up ahead of John Kinder, and suddenly John Kinder, for the first time all night, going to have to come from behind just like he did at the start. So like I said, the first time, but for the first time since taking the race lead.
Yeah, he is, like I said, he's a man on a mission. He's moved himself up into the 4th position, and now he is just running down. He's going to try and look around Adam Lancaster, which will put him up into the 3rd spot, because the person who's going to be ahead of him is the person he's fighting for the championship. So down the back straightaway they go. Going to look to the inside, side by side, as they enter turn number 3. He's going to rocket off there, and he's now all over the back bumper. It is a 4-car. You can put him under a blanket right now as they sail off of 4 down the front straightaway to complete lap number 140. As now to the inside they go. Going to use the momentum and rocket his way to the inside, and just like he did the Lancaster, he is going to take over the 2nd spot, and now we have a fight for the race lead, as now the moment he sees a shot at the lead, he's going to take it. He has the momentum. He has the game to go for it. He's going to try and take that race lead to sail off and maybe take this win.
Remember how I said we had comers and goers here at Darlington for the first time in a little while? Boy, these comers and goers certainly showing themselves this evening. Travis Miller suddenly a comer despite being a lap out of this thing, almost 2 laps out of this thing a while ago. He made that pit mistake early on the first pit cycle of this race. He had to wait 100 laps to get back into it, and he suddenly is back into things. Justin Winters with company from John Kinder, but we're going to keep watching this lead fight. A caution comes out behind and changes everything. Brackett involved, Bauer involved. Oh my gosh.
And again, that is a very big moment for John Kender, because now he can catch his breath, gather it back up, and do it all over again. But this might make it interesting for the next pit cycle, because we're about approaching when that window is going to open. So that is also a very good moment for Brandon Robertson, who might come off in the pit road and fix that damage. Oh my goodness, that was a
This is a big one.
accident.
Yeah, this is a big one down the backstretch. And I mean, just realistically, it's the same exact thing that happened to Wes Wiggin. It's just guys racing for positions late in the going through the midfield, unfortunately. And just a small mistake. And it's really easy to do out of turn 2 at Darlington. The exit really funnels you towards the wall, so it's tough to race side by side and not catch the fence. But that's exactly why sometimes you just got to wait on the battle to come to you. This involves Scott Fritz, Joshua Abbey, just innocent bystanders.
Yeah, like I said, over and over and over again, that turn 2 wall will sneak up on you in a hurry, and it's just snuck up on the 38 and just plowed into it and just absolutely destroyed 4 cars. You see the onboard of Scott Fritz as they head down the front straightaway. He was just minding his own business. I haven't really talked about him so much. He's running it back up in the 11th position at the time. You just see down through turns 1 and 2. Coming off the corner, Brackett just slaps the wall and just goes in the back, tries to save it, and man, that was a hard hit to the rear end of the 48 car. He's able to gather it back up. Obviously a lot of damage, but could have been a lot worse compared to the other 3 that were involved in that wreck.
And Joshua Abbey is already, it looks like, disconnected from the server this evening. Looks like he's done. This caution puts these guys in a bind, because we are just to the outside of our pit window once we restart here. I don't know what the right call is. I'm glad I'm not one of these drivers. I'm glad I'm not one of their crew chiefs, because this is going to be a tough one to call. We'll see what they all do this time by the start, or not the start finish, but the pits, and everybody's staying out. I think they know that it's just a little bit too far.
One of the guys that did pit, though, was John Kinder. He decided, you know what, these tires are, I've used up as much of them as I can. I'm going to go down and take the tires. And now he's going to try and play a little pit strategy. So now he's going to have the fresher tires, kind of the same strategy that Robertson played 2 cautions ago that put him up there to go run with the leaders. And he's going to try and do the same thing and perhaps stretch it out a little bit further, because we're, like you said, we're about approaching that 30 to go. Close to 30 to go. We're about, I believe, 35 just because of where we are. But man, just an incredible turn of events these last few cycles. Has just been caution after caution. We had a long green flag run, and now we're starting to see a little bit more of the chaos as guys are trying to jockey for position because of that green flag, how long that first run is. So you want to get yourself in a good position so that we can go out and hold it and hopefully stay there for the rest of this race.
While we have the chance in Riella, let's talk to yet another driver. It's going to be Justin Winters. And Justin, it's been an interesting race for that Allen's Body Shop. Number 88, looks like you might need some body work after this one. You've looked pretty good at times, but at other times it seems like the 88's just in a slide.
Yeah, we're struggling. This is my worst track by far. But we're still running up here with these boys, and we got a little bit of strategy coming about, so we'll see what happens.
And I know Huffy was out in the chat earlier saying that he was helping you work on your line this evening. It seems like it's helped for sure, according to him. I mean, you're still looking stout. It's just a matter of some of these guys have been pretty darn good on the long run. What is the strategy here? Of course, this is right on the edge of our pit window.
Yeah, I think everybody else is down to 1 set left. I still got 2 sets. So we're going to see what happens. Looks like cautions are coming right outside of pit window, people getting loose. So if we get 2 more cautions, we still got 2 sets of tires.
Well, that's certainly looking good then for the number 88 team. Justin, we'll let you go right now and get ready for the restart. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
And that's Justin Winters in the number 88. I hope I put him back up into the right channel. And Hopefully it works out for him, and he's got, like he says, possibly an extra set of tires versus the rest of the field. We'll see how it goes for the driver of the number 88, Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet Camaro. Out of turn number 4, we're coming to lap 147 of 184, just outside that pit window, so everything gonna get interesting. The green flag flies. We're back out at Darlington in a late run restart.
Robertson now with a really good restart. Miller going to fall back to second. Lancaster shoots his way up to third around Justin Winters, who you just talked to. As now here comes Miller. Going to try and reel him back in. Good run off of turn number 2. He's really starting to reel him in. He's probably going to make that move. To see Robertson trying to protect the bottom, but to no avail as here comes the 22. Shooting the inside. They're going to go side by side through 3 and 4. Down the front straightaway. And Miller, I believe, he's going to have the high line run. And Robertson's going to about clear him as they get ready to enter turn number 1. Not just yet, as the fight rages on.
Oh!
It looks like the same that was like about the same incident that happened between Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr.
I had
just
flashbacks.
into the wall.
I had flashbacks right there watching that one. He almost fenced Brandon Robertson. Thankfully, they keep it off one another. I think he saw it coming and got up out of the way. He lost an extra position, though, in the process to Adam Lancaster, so that shakes things up for the number 2. Here comes Kinder on those new tires. He's going for third.
Yeah, Kinder trying to pull the same strategy that we talked about the 2 pulled a couple cautions ago. He's going to try and give him a taste of his own medicine on those fresh Goodyear Eagles off of turn number 2. He's going to have a big steam of momentum down into turn number 3. Maybe, yep, he's going to look on the inside. He's there. And Lancaster actually might have gotten a wall. He lost a lot of momentum off of turn number 4, and he might shoot himself up into the second spot as he get ready to set off into turn number 1. Lancaster now on the outside as Kinder just shoots around by him. Same for Randall Robertson and same for Winters as Lancaster struggling here in turns 1 and 2.
Grenier almost tags Lancaster out of turn 2, but all eyes now fall on John Kinder. It looks like he's pulled the right tire strategy. It sounds like Justin Winters also had an extra set of tires, but it's still just going to end up working out for John Kinder at this point because this number 21 is just looking fast. And, of course, that's because he has 15 lap or so fresher tires than everybody else. I think the number is about 13 to almost 20, actually, depending on who he was racing on that restart. And he's already caught up to Travis Miller on 13 lap older tires, and I think he's going to make quick work of that 22. He does. Goes right on by. Now, everybody still has to pit one more time. Suddenly, John Kinder in the catbird seat.
Yeah, he's really caught his momentum back after that terrible run of the caution last time around where he fell all the way back to 6th. Side of the pit, get those tires off. As we talked about with Winters, he has about 1 set left, which is perfect. But Winters has those 2 tires just in case of a late race caution. As here comes Miller down pit road. So now here comes his first. He's going to be the first of the comers to possibly take their last pit stop of the race. As now officially, I believe the pits window has opened for all the guys who stayed out.
It just opened up. That's an early pit stop. He's going to go 32 laps to the end. So it's an interesting undercut from Travis Miller, but I like the move. He's going to try and catapult himself ahead of John Kinder again and try to hang on for dear life. And now I wonder what Kinder's going to do. Is he going to try and run late into this segment to the end and try and hang on to the lead in case the caution comes out, or does he come down the pit lane with everybody else? It's interesting. I think, honestly, if I'm John Kinder, I want to run as far as I can because if a caution comes out in this run to the end, and he's the leader by that much, that makes the run to the end that much easier for this 21 car.
Looking back towards second, Robertson's starting to reel in the number 88 of Justin Winters. They're about car lanes. Here comes Robertson making his way down pit road. So now Robertson going to make the same pit maneuver that Travis Miller pulled about a lap or 2 later. So now he's going to make his final pit stop. So a lot of these leaders are going to come in. So here comes Tanner Webb in a 17 as well, going to follow him into pit road as a lot of the leaders are going to start making their way. John Kinder, again, the guy in the catbird seat, who everyone's going to want to keep an eye on when he pits. Because if he tries to pull the undercut, it might work out. As here comes Winters now, going to make the dive down pit road. Can he make it? He's going to shoot all the way to the inside. It looks like he's going to make it this time. So now more and more leaders come in as he came really close to speeding into pit road. Here comes Lancaster as well.
So everybody making their way down the pit lane. And again, I think if I'm John Kinder, I want to go deep into this run to the end because I want to try and catch these guys with their pants down, catch them a lap down if I can. So I like the move by John Kinder to get those tires in that last yellow, and he's really got to try and capitalize. He has so far, and it just might work out for the number 21 to get his first win on the season. You talk about him turning the wick up lately. Indianapolis, he looked like one of the cars to beat, and now at Darlington backing himself up. Suddenly, the Rims 1 Ford Mustang just looks like he is a championship favorite. Let's pull up those standings one more time. He comes in third place after making up 5 positions at Indianapolis. And if he continues this tear, he's going to keep making up ground on Travis Miller and Justin Winters, but he's really got to catch those guys both in the back at some point between now and Kentucky.
Yeah, and a win can do so much if he can able to hold on his momentum. He's had so many good finishes the last few weeks, which has put him in that position. So obviously a win is going to be very crucial to get himself into the championship fight. And here comes Kinder, now making a dive down pit road. Came very late on the brakes to come in. He is going to make it down pit road. He's going to make the pit speed limit. So now he is going to do a short stop. So now he's going to use his last set of tires now, is he's going to have to stay on those tires for about 30 to about 20 to 25 laps it is.
Well, it's interesting. If he has to stay on these tires, this race suddenly falls right back into the hands of somebody else. But if he has a set of tires in the pits, he might just win this thing. Let's watch and see what he does, because we don't have the telemetry to see if they have an extra set of tires or not. So I want to see if that car jacks up or not. It does. He's got tires. I don't know how you beat John Kinder then. Granted, I would have run a bit further just in case there's a late race yellow, because that's going to allow himself, it would have allowed himself to really gap the rest of the field on a restart. He pulls away, and not very much fuel going into that. Number 21, Scott Fritz and Brian Terry staying out for now, trying to get some laps led apiece. And Brian Terry, he will have to pit here soon, but Scott Fritz has a few extra laps.
Yeah, and I think the reason that he might have pitted is because if he decided to stay out up to the point of where he
Brian Terry almost caught Brandon Robertson, and that's going to bring Justin Winters into that battle.
Yeah, and talk about with John Kinder, if he decided to stay out, he would have had to pit very, very late in the race, and that would have put him out of it. So I think he really had no choice. If he wanted to stay in it, he had to pit there, because if he stayed out, he would have been pitting around less than 20 to go, which is not where you want to be, because everybody else is going to fly by you and you're going to lose so much time. So I think he's just trying to play the strategy on what he needs to do and just use that last set of tires and just kind of lay it. He made his bed, now he has to lie in and just run away with it. So now he's going to try and hold on to it, as now Travis Miller is going to be the new race leader once Scott Fritz and Brian Terry decides to pit. As he makes his way down the front straightaway, he's going to stay out again. Scott Fritz in turns 3 and 4 looks like he's going to stay out as well and go another lap. So again, these guys just going to keep logging laps and hopefully lead more laps just to be able to have him as, Brian Terry again having problems with the 28. He almost has to wall coming up at 2.
Here comes Grenier going by on the bottom side. Oh, he's trying to pit! Brian Terry, I think, was trying to come down to the pit lane that time. Maybe not. Either way, he was fading down to the inside as Grenier came by on the bottom. This is what happens when you have that big speed difference between new and old tires, and Brian Terry almost catches the number 15 as he tries to go on by. Meanwhile, John Kinder has caught Travis Miller. This is tentatively the battle for the race lead.
Yeah, the fight raging on as Kinder and Miller, the people who started 1-2 in this race, now fighting for the first spot to try and take over this win, as now Kinder on the fresher tires is going to start to sail away and hopefully build up a gap to where he can run those tires to the very end and try and run out these leaders if they do have to pit one more time. Miller not falling that far behind. He's still within the draft. He's going to try and arc the corner a little bit to get a runoff of turn number 4, as Brian Terry still opting to stay out. Obviously, he might have been trying to pit there on the last caution, or maybe he was just trying to defend the line. As he comes to turns 3 and 4, it doesn't look like he's going to pit. No, he's going to stay out another lap. So a very weird strategy being played out by the 13. We don't really get a chance to talk about him because of the fact he runs towards the back half of the field most of the race, but he is starting to make that Darrell Waltrip throwback known as he sails it off into one, gets into the wall, and going to lose more and more time. Scott Fritz only 7 seconds now behind, and then John Kinder's going to be running them down lap after lap. So this is kind of a Hail Mary move that might not work out in the end, but at least he's getting some airtime for that Mountain Dew number 13.
He'll finally come in this time in turns 3 and 4. You see him slow down on the banking now. So Scott Fritz should get a lap lead, should at least grab a bonus point or so. And
he missed pit road. He actually pulled. He's in the same position that a lot of drivers made. He might be watching the broadcast because he learned from what those guys' mistakes were, and he's going to do another lap, not get the penalty, but he's going to lose a lot.
But will he run out of fuel? We saw Nick Mills, or no, not Nick Mills. Who was it? It was it was Wes Wiggin, I believe, who stayed out the extra lap. He might run out of fuel here going down towards 3 and 4.
Very slow. He's going to try and do it differently so that way he can safely make it to pit road. As you see, very slowly, he knows he's not going to be able to win the race, so he's going to safely pull in there, take what he can get, and try and hopefully make a run towards the finish to grab a few extra spots as the fight rages on between Robertson and Miller. And then there's winners as well, so the second, third, and fourth fight heating up very well, which is exactly what John Kinder wants to see. He's going to allow him to spread that lead out as those guys are really fighting hard for that second position.
And Miller, his strategy worked at first to undercut and, try and get some time on Kinder and everybody else, but they ended up overcutting him well enough that they're just rolling on by the number 22 rather easily. Wiggin, they're slow on the bottom side of the number 188 throwback to Dale Earnhardt, but this 22 Donnie Allison machine, it looks good, just not quite good enough right now. Kinder does get on by Fritz for the race lead. Fritz going to come in now, it looks like. Yep, as soon as he lost the lead, he came in. Smart move there. Meanwhile, three-way battle for second, third, and fourth place. Winners all over Robertson.
Yeah, those two have been the fastest two of most of the race compared to John Kinder. Those two have just been on each other for about most of the race, as now he's going to try and rage on and try to take the points fight back to these guys. He is ahead of Travis Miller, which is good enough to close that gap, barring 2 drop weights, depending what those may be at the end of the season. But those guys are all over each other for that second position, and they're going to catch the number 33 of Brackett down the front straightaway. And it's really going to hinder Justin Winters because now they're 2 wide, and he has nowhere to go. He's going to needle his way into turn number 1, right on the back bump. Oh my goodness, look how close they are, and he's going to try and make the move off of turn number 2, and he's going to sail right by him.
Oh, Robertson almost catches the wall. That was a bit of an interesting move from Winters, and I'm not sure Robertson's going to appreciate that one, because Winters basically just said, move out of my way, I'm going, I need to get on by. And I mean, I get it for second spot, but dang, he almost put Robertson in the fence by just avoiding him. If he hadn't moved out of the way, there would have been contact. They would have been wrecking down the backstretch. Miller gets on by virtue of that checkup there for the number 2 car of Robertson. So he gets back onto a podium spot, but I just don't think Miller was ready to have to defend like he's had to. Now drafting down the backstretch, a bump draft down the back. I don't think Robertson really wants to fight much right now. He doesn't want to tear that car up.
I think his patience is starting to go away. He is not playing around anymore. He's like, get out of my way. I'm going to lift those back tires off the ground. He is right on the back bumper of that 22 machine. He is just like Miller was when he got his lap back, a man on a mission, trying to regain the spots that he lost. But regardless, even if he gets up to second, that's a 6-second gap to John Kinder. He was the latest of the guys who all pitted. So right now, he is looking to be the best man on strategy right now as we get ready to approach that 10 to go mark. As the fight for third still raging on. He's going to try and get the run off of turn number 4. Also make moves to the inside. He's going to do it this time. And he's going to try and make the peak into turn number 1. He's going to get it done. He's going to move himself back up in the third spot. And then he's going to set his sights on that 88 machine.
And I was going to say, he had to make the move at some point because he could not sit behind the 22 forever. It doesn't matter if he's saving his tires. He's got to get on by Miller, and he finally does that time through 1 and 2. Oh, and they both catch the fence a little bit. Miller more so than Robertson, and that's going to draw those 2 cars apart. Through the rest of the top 10, Matt Grenier is trying to get on by the now lapped car of Wyatt Brackett. We missed him going a lap down, but the 33 car, from looking strong all night long, now 1 lap down in 8th place. Looks like he must have had an issue on that pit strategy. Pit cycle, rather. He catches the wall hard. Oh, he's around! Oh, big contact for Wyatt Brackett. Will this bring out a yellow? Did he catch somebody with him? No yellow yet. 10 laps to go. I want to get a replay of this because this is heavy contact for the driver of the number 33, Bobby Labonte, Interstate Batteries Chevrolet Camaro. And just a small mistake, it seemed like, out of turn number 2. He catches the wall just like everybody else so far that's brought out a yellow. And so, thankfully, he didn't have a car that was inside, but Lancaster tags him. He goes up the racetrack. Oh, I think there's some contact there for Tanner Webb.
I'm kind of surprised that didn't cause a caution. I'm not going to question the call of the admins because obviously they might have a different rule on how what brings out yellows. But that was just a very weird scenario. As my goodness, I don't know how that doesn't bring one out because of how close that was. The moment I saw the 33 come up, I was like, that has to be one because that was going to be a very ugly incident. If he kept going up the racetrack, it would have absolutely slammed into the 17 car, but the green flag does stay out as we are now under 10 to go. The gap 7.2 seconds, so John Kinder still the man on the mission, trying to take his first win of the season, as the fight for second is still raging on with about 3 seconds, but the fight for third still very well underway as the Miller are going to try and run down that number 2 car and take back the third spot, but Winners is starting to sail away with that second spot, which would be an incredible turnaround in the point standings for him after the disappointing 2 weeks he's had.
Now 7 laps to go in race number 7 on this season for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. And John Kinder has just looked so good this evening. He's been almost unbeatable. He's been passed a few times, sure, but all because of pit strategy. When it comes down to raw speed, you have not been able to beat this number 21 all night long. He has brought his A game, and he is trying to put the Rims 1, number 21, in P1 this evening. 6 laps to go at Darlington. And this 21 just looks so good. I'm not sure how you try and beat this 21 car the rest of the season because he is on fire.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NASCAR heat game where you would have that momentum. You have about, what was it, about 10 plus horsepower. That's the kind of run that he has because he has just been on fire the last few weeks ever since that run at Pocono. Something lit under his, I thought he was going to fall out for a sec. That would have been a very, very tough pill to swallow for him, but he still drives on. 5 laps to go, and he is just running away with this race. And I don't know how you can beat him unless his internet is starting to go wow. So now, not only are we trying to race to see if he might have the fuel, which he more than likely does, we're also going to try and see if his internet can hold on for these final 5 laps here at Darlington, because apparently it too is taking some wear and tear at the Lady in Black here tonight.
4 laps to go now for John Kinder. Man, this car has just been so good all night long. I really hope things work out. I hope he doesn't somehow lose connection here. It's not looking good for the driver of the 21, and that would be heartbreak if he ends up dropping out of the server in the late goings. Let's recap the rest of the top 5. Justin Winters, an up and down night. He is looking to take second place, and he's got a 3.2 second gap back to Brandon Robertson in third, and it looks like he's going to cement himself. Actually, the top 3 I don't think will change. Travis Miller is 1.8 seconds back. Matt Grenier is 1.5 seconds back of him. So the top 5 very spread out. Even really the entire field rather spread out right now because Lancaster's 5 seconds back of Grenier, and Ed Osborne is 13 seconds back of Lancaster and actually just went a lap down. So 6 cars in the lead lap. We're coming down to it 3 laps to go. Now 2 laps to go for John Kinder.
And 2 to go for John Kinder, and this is the moment he's been waiting for about almost a month. He's come so close to winning these races, but has been being on pit strategy, but not tonight. And now he just has to do 4 more corners, and he's going to take it at the Lady in Black. And what a race to get your first win at, other than the Darlington Raceway. As now officer number 4, he's going to see that white flag one more time around for the 21 Ford as he looks to take his first career win and cement himself as a championship contender.
About a mile to go for John Kinder. We're riding on board with the driver of the number 21. It's been certainly a roller coaster for him as well. The last few weeks, John Kinder has just looked so good, and finally, it's all going to pay off here at Darlington Raceway in race 7 at 12. John Kinder is going to exit turn number 4 and exit Darlington Raceway, a race winner in the Bluegrass iRacing Series. John Kinder wins at Darlington.
Justin Winters is going to have another amazing run. He's going to have 2 back-to-back second-place finishes here at Darlington now. Brandon Robertson going to take home 3rd. Travis Miller going to run home 4th. And Matt Grenier with an amazing 5th-place finish in that Terry Labonte throwback. Adam Lancaster going to cross the line 6th, the last car on the lead lap. Ed Osborne with a really good finish in 7th. Scott Fritz, who had a really rough go of it after that run-in late in the race, he's going to rebound it to 8th for a great finish. Then Tanner Webb 9th, and then Wes Wiggin, who he got absolutely destroyed on that wreck that he was involved in. He's going to end it 3 laps down and take home a top 10 finish.
And it's donut time for the Rims 1 Ford Mustang. John Kinder, the winner at Darlington Raceway. What a perfect night. I mean, not perfect necessarily, but just what a great night for John Kinder. 97 laps led en route to victory. And we covered it multiple times. He was just so hard to beat this evening. It didn't look like anybody really had him on speed. Since the start of the race, the drop of the green flag, the 21 was just so much faster.
Yeah, you talk about just a great night for Kinder. How about a great night for the league? This is another really good race these guys have pulled on for the last few weeks. It's just been really, really clicking. These guys have really started to figure out how to run around each other, and they've been pulling off some amazing races. I know that the admins are very happy about that, and we're happy about that too, because we're not having these caution-filled wreck fests. We're just using all the green, white checker. These guys have been putting on some amazing races these past few weeks, and it's just incredible to watch. And I'm so glad they get to cover this on a weekly basis, because it's such amazing to see these guys. And then honestly, I am so happy for John Kinder, because he's worked so hard for this, and I can bet the emotions are probably running high for his first career win here in the Bluegrass iRacing series. And now he is going to finally have a win on the record for the season. Now he's going to finally cement himself as a championship contender to the drivers like Winters and Miller, and as well as Robertson. So now the top 4 are all championship contenders. That just tells you how good these guys are.
And as per usual, we will step aside for a quick break before we come back and greet you once again with some post-race interviews. We've got John Kinder to talk to. We've got Justin Winters and Brandon Robertson in the waiting. We'll be talking to them shortly. Do not go anywhere. These are interviews you will want to hear. We'll have them just on the far side of this break.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We welcome you back to Darlington Raceway for continuing coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. It's race 7 of 12, and John Kinder has just won it all. And you know what? We're just going to bring him straight in. John Kinder, what an amazing run. It was a bit of a roller coaster at times, but you continue your hot streak right into Darlington Raceway, and you are going to leave now a winner. What a run. Yeah, no, if you miss a strategy, as we've seen recently, it definitely writes you out of things. It seems like the early goings, you can kind of mess around, see what works for you, but by the end of the race, you have to be on that right strategy. Talk us through that changing strategy this evening. It seemed very clean cut, like everybody had the same game plan, and then all of a sudden, those couple of cautions really changed things up.
So I split those last 2 runs.
And it works out for you here, John. 97 of 184 laps led. And you may not have started on pole, but you were pretty darn close. How does this affect your momentum? Almost winning in every category this evening. I mean, it's been building and building through Indianapolis. You looked great last week. You look even better, of course, this evening. I don't think anybody had you beat on speed. How does this change things going into Bristol, finally having that win?
Well, it's nice to get that first one. These guys are really fast, and Bristol's going to be an interesting race to go to, so it's nice to get one before we head there. I don't know. It's you keep trying and keep digging, and things just haven't gone my way. And tonight they went my way.
Tonight things definitely go your way. Best of luck to you the rest of the season. You've got your challenge cut out for you with Travis Miller, Justin Winters. Those guys are going to be tough to beat. With those drop weeks coming in, obviously the points right now don't totally reflect those drop weeks. Do you feel like you've got that chance at the championship?
Yeah, I think, Brandon's really fast, and he gets to drop 2 races. It's going to bring him closer into the mix, and Justin had a bad race, and he gets to drop races. So I think it's going to be interesting when the drop races get figured in, because I think we're all really close. So from here on out, you can't have a bad race.
Well, John, before we let you go, again, congratulations this evening, winning at Darlington. It's tough to do, but you end up taming this place. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening?
I got to thank Rims One for coming on to this for this race and for the rest of the year. And if anybody's in the mood to buy some rims and tires, go check them out on rims1.com. And Ronnie Shirk for painting the car up for me. If it wasn't for him, I'd be running the same old, So I got to say thanks to him. Oh, of course, thanks to you guys for the broadcast. And all the guys that put on this Bluegrass race deal. It's a good group of guys. You can tell the races are good, and what they're doing here is pretty fun.
John, once again, thanks for your time. Congratulations this evening. I'm sure we'll be talking to you at Bristol and beyond.
I appreciate it, Andrew.
So that's John Kinder, our race winner, and man, he just dominated this evening, Noah. There was no beating him, but somebody who gave it his darndest was Justin Winters. I'll hand it over to you.
Justin Winters, no Carmichael open the booth. You got a copy?
Got you, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, for a guy who says this is one of his worst tracks, you sure do know how to wheel it around here. Just take us through those last few laps, because you put on quite a show against the likes of Travis Miller and Brandon Robertson to take it home for a second P2 finish in a row in the past 2 weeks. Just take us through that last run up to the checkered.
Yeah, they were battling pretty hard, and I was trying to be patient, and I got a run on it, and it was the point of the race where I wasn't going to lift, and basically we all race clean, but at the end of the race you got to take every run you can get, especially at Darlington, a track that I severely struggle at, and it's hard to pass. you got to take every run you get, and that's what we did. We made a pretty bold move to overtake Brandon for second. Travis fought hard, but we were able to finish ahead of him.
As we talked about last week, after the disappointing loss in Indianapolis, you were kind of, and I even talked to the admins, and you're kind of questioning, like, they're talking about this large points gap with the drop weeks. Coming into this race, you were still on the back foot, minus the drop weeks you have. What does a run like this here tonight kind of mean to you as you, again, try to fight more and harder for this championship as we're now approaching the last few weeks of the series here?
To me, this means that I have another track that I can drop. This is one of the ones that I circled that, may or may not be a drop track for me. So finishing second, I can kind of chalk that up to a pretty good run here, and maybe one of these upcoming tracks that I don't feel comfortable at, we can use that as our second drop week. But Travis didn't finish too far behind me. Brandon didn't either. So, I mean, this championship is wide open, and Kinder, he's right there too. He's one of the dark horses, but he's fast and he'll be there. It's going to be interesting.
And you talk about those upcoming tracks that you're unsure of. Tracks like Martinsville and the Roval, and then even Kentucky, even though it's kind of the home track for a lot of you guys, it's still a hard track to tackle ever since the reconfiguration. What are some of the tracks looking forward to that you are circling as the ones you might want to get some more seat time in to try and learn it better as the series approaches those races?
The Roval for sure. Kentucky, I'm okay there. Bristol next week. I'm pretty sure Bristol's next week. You can get caught up in a wreck there very easily and not even be your fault. So Bristol's, and then you got Talladega. I mean, we're all good at Talladega, but what happens if we get in the big one? So, I mean, any of the tracks coming up can be, you could probably get in some carnage and have to finish in the back half of the field, and then you have to drop that week, and then you go to say, there's no telling. This championship's wide open, and there's a bunch of tracks that you can get in wrecks in and not be your fault.
Well, all right, and before I let you go here, do you have anybody you want to thank for your strong P2 finish here at Darlington?
Yeah, I want to thank Al's Body Shop for being on the car, Boots Manufacturing for being on the car, Alex Huffman for spotting and helping me at this track all week and painting the car, and I want to thank Bluegrass iRacing Series for putting it on, you guys in the booth, and shout out to Bill Baird because that's the throwback car I drove tonight, so that was pretty neat to bring it home P2.
Well, all right, that's great to hear. Good luck in the remaining few races of the season. Hopefully we get to talk to you even more, hopefully with a couple more wins as you try to close down this championship fight.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good night.
Well, that's going to wrap it up our P2 finisher. Now we're going to bring in our P3 finisher, Mr. Brandon Robertson. For that, I'll hand it back to Mr. Andrew Cardinale.
And Brandon, we talked to you earlier on in this race, but everything was looking a bit different then, and this race went through so many different changes, as did the look of the number 2 this evening, because you were dinging the fence, dinging other cars as they were spinning off your nose, man. How would you sum up your evening here at Darlington?
It was great. First of all, I want to shout out to my friends Eric and Chris who are watching on PitStop TV. And as far as the race, it was pretty much a pit strategy race for us and trying to keep it off the wall. Didn't do a good job, though.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody had their trip up to that outside wall at some point this evening. Really, the first half of the race was pretty vanilla, just trying to be as fast as you could and nail those pit stops, and you definitely did, and that's part of the way you netted those 48 laps led this evening. But then the race underwent those changes with those caution flags and changing the strategy up and trying to figure out, do you take tires? Do you wait maybe for another pit stop or another yellow flag? What was the biggest challenge at that point?
I think the biggest mistake I had the whole night was, I think right around mid-race, there was a time when I had to pit, or I ended up pitting for some reason. And I had about 10 lap old tires, and that put me at a little bit of a disadvantage because I knew everybody else had one set. And then toward the end there, I knew that we all had to make one more pit stop. I knew Kinder was back in maybe 10th or 8th on fresh tires, and I wanted to get to like about lap 155 to get me within striking distance. I figured Kinder was going to go a little bit long there and maybe go to lap 160, and I was going to pick up about 2 seconds a lap. But man, I think I did. I don't know if I got by him or not, but yeah, that was really my only hope. He just had this track figured out for sure.
Absolutely, John Kinder was the guy to beat, but last weekend at Indianapolis, you got your second win after winning at Richmond. Two very diverse racetracks. You come to another very unique racetrack here at Darlington. You're strong all night long, and now we go to another very unique racetrack in Bristol Motor Speedway next week. How do you think you stack up?
Anytime you need to run the wall, I think I'm pretty focused and just kind of hit the marks. I try not to drive it in too deep. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I banged it up pretty bad tonight, but I do have confidence running the wall, so I'm pretty comfortable that that's where the line's going to be at Bristol. It's going to be interesting with the lap traffic. It's going to come fast and furious at Bristol compared to here, for sure.
Well, Brandon, before we let you go, congratulations on the third place finish. I know you would have liked to finish 2 notches higher, but still, after starting 10th, third place has got to feel pretty good with 48 laps led. Who do you have to thank? Who else do you have to shout out this evening?
Shout out to Eric and Chris who are watching, and the Ricky Craven 2003 Darlington paint scheme I'm running. That obviously he won the 2003 Darlington race against, I think it was Kurt Busch. So I just wanted to shout out because I'm from New England as well. So that's the car I was running today.
Definitely like the nod to Ricky Craven. I have mad respect for the Mainer, Ricky Craven. Thanks for your evening. Thanks for your time this evening, rather, Brandon Robertson. We'll be seeing you, I'm sure, very soon and possibly picking up that third win here shortly.
Hey, thanks, gentlemen. Have a good night.
That's Brandon Robertson finishing third. It was almost everything that he needed it to be, but it just doesn't quite work out in the end. Noah, he ends up finishing third to Justin Winters and John Kinder, a couple of guys he battled all night long.
Yeah, he had a really strong run and was looking to take home the win after that pit strategy pulled off in the middle of the race. But towards the end of it, he just got bullied by a lot of these guys with the runs he had against Travis Miller and Justin Winters, and was able to rebound it back to a third place finish. Not obviously what he wanted, but good enough for his points finish, because unlike Justin Winters, who can choose which races, he had to take 2 weeks off for vacation. So his drop weeks are already done with because he has 2 DNFs. So he needed to have these good finishes, and starting 10th and finishing third, that is exactly what he wants. It will be enough to at least put him, I would believe, in the top 10 points to be able to make his name heard more and more for this championship.
Absolutely. So speaking of that championship, we'll get to the point standings coming into this evening here shortly. But first, let's see how they might change a little bit. Let's check out the race results this evening. Of course, John Kinder winning by over 10 seconds. I mean, how else do you sum up this race? For the driver of the 21, 97 laps led, and he caps it all off with that dub that he so greatly deserves. Justin Winters, P2. Brandon Robertson follows him up in third. Great runs for all those guys, and a great recovery for Travis Miller. After being written out of this thing early on, he ends up recovering to fourth place. I don't think he can be mad about that at all, given the night he had to go through. It's Matt Grenier in fifth place. Another pretty good, a quiet run for the driver of the 15.
Finishing back in the 6th position is where you're going to find Adam Lancaster, who had a really good run throughout most of the race and a very solid 6th place finish. He's the last car to lead lap. Finishing back in 7th is where you're going to find Ed Osborne on the 555. Another back-to-back good runs for him. Scott Fritz, as we talked about, who was involved in that wreck with Wes Wiggin in the midpoint of the race, is able to bounce back for a strong 8th place finish. He is the last car to finish a lap down. Tanner Webb in a 17 in the Bill Elliott throwback. He finishes 2 laps down in 9th. And then, as we talked about, Wes Wiggin is able to bounce back. He rounds out the top 10, 3 laps down.
In 11th is Brian Terry. After his issues all night long, he still recovers for 11th spot. That's really not bad, given how it was looking in the early going for that Dale Earnhardt Jr., Darrell Waltrip kind of mix of a throwback there. The true Dale Jr. throwback out in the field, Nick Mills, I mean, At one point, it was looking like he was going to try and contend, and then he just started slipping back, and he ends up being the cause of one of our yellows. Well, actually, no, he got collected in one of our yellows. I think that's a better way to say it. And he ends up finishing 12th place, 3 laps down. Wyatt Brackett, an early exit this evening in the Bobby Labonte, number 33. He ends up finishing 11 laps down in 13th. It's Jack Bauer in 14th, 29 laps down from the race leader. With the other bracket, David Brackett, 42 laps down in 15th.
Joshua Abbey to number 05 in the Jimmy Johnson throwback after his violent accident in the midpoint of the race. He calls it a night. He finishes 43 laps down to 16th. Nicholas Nago, who was just struggling all night long, has to settle for a 17th place finish at 51 laps down. I believe this might be one of the races he uses as a drop week. Tyler Johnson, number 6, who had such a strong race, costly pit stop mistake, and that's going to make him have to settle for 18th as he also takes the DNF 59 laps down. Ronnie Shirk Jr., who ran towards the back most of the night, he finishes 108 laps down to 19th. And then Daniel Worthington, who obviously we talked about at the start of the race, started from pit road, just wasn't able to rebound. He has to settle for 20th place. And Daniel's one of the more stronger competitive cars, so I expect him to probably use this as a drop week after having to miss a start like that.
And we take a look at the standings coming into this evening. So this is now one race old. We'll see how it all changes next week at Bristol. But Travis Miller does enter the points leader. And, I mean, the recovery is so important for him. He might not be dropping Darlington now. And he will only lose a few points to Justin Winters in that points lead. John Kinder gaining a lot this evening with lap sled and such, leading the most and everything else. It really is not going to gain too much on Justin Winters, but he'll gain some spots to Travis Miller at the very least. Wes Wiggin going to lose a lot of ground this evening. Well, I would say it would open the door for Daniel Worthington, but I'm not really so sure. I'm not sure who it's going to really open the door for, because Wes Wiggin, Daniel Worthington, they all had pretty bad nights. Wyatt Brackett might actually try and take that spot from them. We'll have to see how it all works out. Definitely a very interesting night, and certain things going to have to be watched going into Bristol next week. Before we go to Bristol next week, of course, this wraps up our coverage tonight of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. And we at PitStop TV, thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and be sure to join us again Friday as the Maconie Setup Shop Fall Brawl continues on their journey to North Wilkesboro Speedway. Monday night, as we bring you the opening round of the Northwest GT3 Challenge, and again Wednesday when Bluegrass again does it all again at Bristol Motor Speedway. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube by searching PitStop TV, or you can go to www.youtube.com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, Noah Carmichael with me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, and all the rest of our crew that wasn't here this evening, but you'll see in various broadcasts up ahead. I am Andrew Cardinale IV for PitStop TV, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.